Welcome to Sic'em365 Radio.
That one picked off, and it's a pick six by Jalen Petrie.
Sic'em365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Bunch formation to the right. Pass is caught by Elliott, and he takes it in for a Dallas score.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
I think that was a really big plus going to linebacker, at least for me. You know, as a running back, you kind of got to see the holes and, you know, got to react really quick on and get into those holes. So, like, as a linebacker, I was able to see and kind of just, like, anticipate where they were going to go. So I feel like as a running back, going over the linebacker, that was one of my big, like...
Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, here we go on this Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving on this holiday week. High school football week number 3 of the playoffs coming up. In fact, some games on Thursday. And through the weekend, the NFL moves into week, I think it's 11 or 12 as far as the number of week. Cowboys and Reds football team tomorrow at AT&T Stadium. Also Baylor, Kansas State late on Saturday evening at 6 o'clock. Lady Bears open up tonight. College basketball started today. Baylor was supposed to be a part of that. And it now appears, although this has not yet been confirmed by Baylor as far as their opponents, they have kind of thrown it out there. They're going to be in Las Vegas this weekend to try to make up for losing the games to Arizona State, not losing, but losing the games to play, and also the possibility of Villanova. And it does look as if it's going to be maybe even a team. Utah Valley State's name's been mentioned. Washington's been mentioned. I've even heard the possibility of other teams that are looking for games as well. But before we even get to that, one of their next opponents would be Illinois. They're beating North Carolina A&T 122-58. And I think that game has come to an end. Paul, breaking news in the Big 12 in football.
Yes.
It's a big deal right here.
Yeah, Oklahoma and West Virginia at West Virginia has been rescheduled till December 12th in accordance with Big 12 football game interruption guidelines.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a big deal, obviously. I mean, we were already kind of circling that December 12th weekend. That's when Baylor's supposed to play Oklahoma State. There's other games lined up for that weekend, so I think we all just have to, assume that that's going to be kind of the championship weekend in college football in some ways. But, yeah, that's unfortunate because I think Oklahoma wins that game, but it is in Morgantown, and now you're playing that game at the end of the year, and that might very well have turned into kind of an elimination game to like an actual elimination game for Oklahoma potentially. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting to see whose side it was on, if it was a West Virginia or an Oklahoma issue or whatever. But that is big news. So, yeah, man, all right. Well, Oklahoma, West Virginia,
yep, Big 12.
Not happening right now.
It just came down to Big 12. So really, almost the entire focus of the conference will be mainly. That was one of the games, but the Texas game Friday now. Friday late morning against Iowa State down in Austin. Now, one other note, Lady Bears playing Central Arkansas tonight. The last time they were headed to playing a game, their plane was on the runway, right? They were on the runway at Waco Regional Airport, and they were a call. They stopped the flight. Don't take off. You're not coming. You don't need to be here. And that same time, the Big 12 tournament was about to shut down up in Kansas City, despite the fact the game had tipped off. And Craig was there to do his show, what we thought for the next couple of 3 days, and that was shut down. We've got a lot of guests to get to. I'll update some of the college basketball games in just a moment. Dejanay Carrington. Remember the half-court shot that Juicy Landrum used to do almost every time they were about to play a game, no matter where they were? There's a video of Dejanay Carrington. She's the transfer from Stanford now doing that and making them from half court. So she's now, as even the tweet said from the Lady Bears, carrying or passing on the torch. Baylor men's basketball. So Las Vegas this weekend, guys. It's not official. Nothing's been released, but that appears as if they'll play Saturday, Sunday to get a couple of games in before playing a very good top 10 team with Illinois.
Yeah, and then the number one team in the country in Gonzaga. I was starting to worry that the first game might be Illinois, and I didn't want that for them. You especially don't want it to be Gonzaga, especially if they're going to get to play a couple of times. So now that,
but it was going to be a top 20 team in Arizona State, and then maybe a top five.
I'm just talking about in the immediate aftermath of that, What if Gonzaga gets to play 3 games, you don't get to play any, and your first game is either against Illinois or Gonzaga? Well, of course, if Illinois falls out, then that probably Gonzaga too. So, yeah, it's worked out well, I think.
One game in the Big 12 that just went final. Kansas State lost to Drake 80-70. That game was on ESPNU. Kansas State dropped the 10-point game to Drake.
Well, Drake's a really talented rapper. He's got a lot of skills, and he's
pretty good.
A formidable opponent. But
he's been to enough NBA games. I'm sure he's picked some stuff up.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a fan of everybody. But no, I want to give credit to Baylor men's basketball for kind of scrambling like they did. And we talked to Mac Rhodes yesterday, and he was discussing how they were, as he was speaking with us, working on trying to get some games together, and mentioned wanting to play a quality opponent, and then, the possibility of if there was a second game available against maybe somebody of a lesser stature, then they could potentially grab 2 games. But, man, this wild world of scheduling, I'm sure they picked up a note or two from football, and we're going to see that in basketball, I feel like, probably in this early stage quite often, is teams supposed to play in a tournament's canceled, you got to turn right around, hey, schedule IUPUI or somebody like that on a Tuesday night. And so, yeah, that's going to be kind of wild, but hey, they already got their toes in the water. So, kind of get used to it early on, I guess.
No miracle Lear Jets for Nick Saban, it appears. I hate it for him. He's tested positive for COVID. We remember the story before they were about to play Georgia, where they were able to get him tested quite a bit, flu test on the Lear Jet, and he was able to be on the sidelines for the game. That game against Georgia, that was a huge win for Alabama. They're playing their arch rival in Auburn this weekend, and looks like Nick Saban, well, not looks like, he won't be there. He has mild symptoms. Appropriate guidelines, they were able to prove that there's a false positive, right? The last time.
Well, he didn't have any symptoms. So, and by the way, just so we can announce it, because we got a phone call here, Impact Health Labs, our newest sponsor on the Health Labs. I was meeting with them yesterday, and this is what they do. They do COVID testing, and they can come to your business and do a COVID test and all that. And so one of the things that they were telling me is that, so if you are asymptomatic and you're taking one of those the spit test, the antigen tests, the rapid tests, those are more likely to kick up a false negative if you're asymptomatic. So that's why, you have these things that happen where players travel, you get a false negative because they're doing these tests.
And they're actually positive.
And so, but the PCR test, the one where they put a Q-tip up into your brain, is the more accurate one.
I don't want to ever feel that, but I got a feeling most everybody on earth is going to have one of those before it's all said and done.
Yeah, no, probably. I mean, I think that the longer this drags out, everybody's going to be tested at some point or another, most likely. And, with Saban, I'm sure he's feeling fine, and, he's in fine health for his age, but he is well over 60 at this point, and so he's got to be mindful that no matter how good you feel, you still got to be precautionary. And I wanted to pass along, because we were talking about the SEC yesterday, and I was mentioning that for A&M, they were kind of blocked out right now, and they kind of needed some things to happen, and had a text that I didn't see at the time, and I just had it in front of me, my gosh, had a text that I didn't see at the time that was saying basically, well, hey, if Auburn can beat Alabama, then A&M suddenly got like this much clearer road ahead of them, and that was a really, really good point that from Will. There's Will's ball game on Twitter, but yeah, I mean, if that happens, then hey, A&M, you never know. You never know how it could shake out these last 3 weeks.
By the way, depending on your lifestyle, there's worse places they can stick a Q-tip.
Yeah, it's true.
It's true. Well, I'm old enough, I think.
College kids are familiar with that one, too.
A&M's 5th, by the way, in those college football rankings, so they're right there in the mix just ahead of Florida. Cincinnati was 7th, and Brigham Young 14th. Oklahoma and Iowa State in the top 15 or 14. But so Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson, Ohio State, not a surprise. Ohio State 4, they played half the games of the others. That was a little bit of a surprise to me. I thought they would be higher than that.
I think that's why they're 4th.
May have slipped once, maybe a notch, because of how they had to fight off Indiana in what looked like it was going to be a blowout. Minnesota and Wisconsin canceled.
We just mentioned bucket.
Oklahoma, West Virginia pushed back to December the 12th. That's the same weekend that Oklahoma State and Baylor will play. Jamison Houston to the Eagles practice squad along with Graylin Arnold. 14 players on that 2018 Baylor football team are now in the NFL.
Yeah, for anybody who had issues, whatever, with Matt Rule, like, I don't know. There was just some people that didn't like him from the jump, and then there were some people who kind of, I don't know, maybe went up and down along the way. But, he said a lot of things and maybe wasn't around long enough to deliver on all of them, but he delivered on quite a few of them. And one thing he did say from day number one was they were going to put guys in the NFL. And prior to last year, they had like a handful maybe of guys that were still lingering around the league. And since then, they've had a huge pushback of, multiple players who have now found themselves back in the NFL or found themselves in the NFL, whether it's practice squad or main roster. So he definitely held up his end of the bargain on that front.
Also, the Ravens-Steelers Thursday night game tomorrow has been moved back to Sunday. Ravens play the Cowboys next Thursday. At least that is expected as far as the schedule. And Diego Maradona, one of the great soccer players of all time, died at the age of 60 today. Paul?
All right, Stephen from Virginia. Thanks for your call. You're on Sic'em365 Radio.
Hey, the first thing I want to say is that the app feed, the Sic'em365 app feed is still playing, or at least when I called, was still playing the Blake Blackmore interview.
Thank you.
I was able to see y'all on Twitter, but I wanted to let y'all know that. The other two things I wanted to bring up is first with the football game is and happy Thanksgiving, Craig, Paul, and Smokey.
You too.
Is that I feel like the biggest factor for Baylor is running the football and stopping the run. If they can put 8 in the box or 9 in the box like Iowa State did, I feel like they can beat this Kansas State team. But run defense has been a struggle the last 4 or 5 games. And then the other thing I wanted to say is I just wanted to thank Washington because apparently they play in a different Pac-12 than Bobby Hurley's Arizona State, according to his quotes today about how Big 12 stringent testing just was not good enough for the Pac-12. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that Arizona State doesn't want to play us, and maybe Washington, who beat us last year, wouldn't be as worried. But just want to thank Bobby Hurley for that because I'm always knowing he's there with a backbone. So,
Stephen, first of all, thank you, buddy. Great to hear from you. Thanks for the update as well. Sorry, the app, we got working on that. Got it fixed. Sorry about that. We shouldn't have that problem, but sometimes on occasion there's a gremlin. 254-339-1122. And also, what are you thankful for, whether it's sports or something else? I had Steve Howen, we've had him on the show. He's an attorney. Send me he does The Empty Nest, a column about life. And sometimes it could be politics. Sometimes it could be about a lot of things. But he sent me this in this year of 2020. And then he shared a story about a soldier in the Middle East who was there just to monitor I guess the Kurds as they were fighting off ISIS. And he was there to monitor. And all of a sudden they went to, they were able to capture like 80 to 100 soldiers who were going to be, not American soldiers, but soldiers who were going to be obliterated by ISIS. And as they were leaving, they drew fire, and he ran in towards the fire. He died. And in this day and age of blue and red and whatever else, left and right and up and down, frustration with COVID, and then you have that story that puts everything in perspective, that we don't have the ability to have a holiday week without our great soldiers. And Steve, thank you very much for that column. It meant a lot to, I'm sure, everyone that knows and knew him, and also Sergeant Wheeler and among many others as well. 254-339-1122, Sic'em365 Radio. We'll have a huge lineup of guests coming up here in a moment, but back to your calls.
T-Rex. Speaking of gremlins, this is a guy who's a big, giant gremlin. I've seen him dressed up like one. T-Rex, you're on Sic'em365 Radio.
Hey, gentlemen. Hope y'all having a beautiful Wednesday. Hope the weather's a little bit better where I'm at right now. I'm up in north of Kansas City visiting the future in-laws for Thanksgiving. So speaking of gremlins, anyways, I will say, I kind of want to knock off real quick. I caught the tail end there. I think that was Stephen from Virginia trying to recognize his voice, agree with everything he's saying there in regards to the basketball. So definitely thankful for Washington and coaches who actually want to play games and have backbones and aren't, just typing away on and running out their mouths, saying things that don't make any sense. So thankful for people with backbones in this world. Also thankful for all you three gentlemen, as well as everybody else there, Armstrong, et cetera, everything behind the scenes to do all the hard work, and Ashley and Brian and Colton, anybody else, and Grayson, all you guys at 365, I'm sure I'm not alone in that. We're all thankful. Baylor Nation is better off having a great news source and sports medium like you guys. So just want to get that out there. Y'all do a lot and y'all don't get enough praise for it. So appreciate y'all. But most importantly, two things. A, I'm thankful that, on November 1st, 1991, my father brought me to the Arkansas game, the last Baylor football game, played in Fayetteville. I was just over a month-old. It was snowing. It was below freezing. Maybe that explains a lot of things concerning my personality and what I do. So thankful that my dad brainwashed me from birth. Maybe froze my brain a little bit. So I never actually developed. I'm not really sure. Maybe all I know is Baylor football. So thankful for, some parents that love Baylor and brought me up, supporting the greatest team in the land in every sport, win or lose, still the best school ever. On the field, off the field, doesn't matter. But most importantly, the most thankful thing I'm thankful for, this is foreshadowing a little bit future thankfulness. I'm thankful for the butt whooping that we're going to be putting on Kansas State on Saturday. I don't care what the score, if it's win by 1 or win by 100, it doesn't matter, because the Baylor Bears are pissed off and you can tell it. I was in the stands every game this year and I've seen that fire inside them. They're pissed off and they're ready to play some football. And we're about to screw up the entire bowl picture, the playoff picture. We ain't losing another game. Oklahoma can pack their bags. Kansas State can pack their bags. Hell, Kansas, they're the only team that we beat so far. They're going to be the best off after we're done. Because guess what? Iowa State's picture is blown up after we're done, because we're going to screw it all up. I don't know how it's going to be done, but we're going to beat everybody. And somehow, some way, ain't nobody going to know who's playing in the playoff on the 19th. But guess what? We won't be there, but we're going to do everything in our power to make it tough for everyone else. So I'm thankful for that, and I'm thankful for these coaches. And as much as I get pissed off during the game and the decisions that are made, and fellow fans are as well, I'm sure at the end of the day, we're all thankful that we still have football to watch. And now we got some women's basketball tonight. So I guess also one other thing, I'm thankful for Kim Mulkey and what she does for Baylor. I'm kind of going on a tangent. I got to get some work done and then go make some banana pudding for tomorrow. So I'm going to be real thankful for that. And Paul, maybe I'll bring you some. You look like you could use some.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, I'm out of here, guys.
All right, T-Rex, happy Thanksgiving to you too, young man. Appreciate you. And I know you got a new home that they're working on. And, of course, next spring you have a big moment in your life as well. Appreciate all of that. 254-339-1122.
I thought Steven made some good points with his call, and T-Rex love his optimism, and we appreciate everybody who's been along for the ride with us. Certainly been wild 2020 for everybody. Everybody's had their different circumstances or changes or whatever. Been a lot of change for us, been a lot of different circumstances, but I think it's come together pretty nicely, and it's only been able to do that because we have great people that we work for, and Brian, Ashley, and Colt, and also a tremendous listening audience. So thank you guys as much as you may be thanking us. We do appreciate it. And hey, if you've got 3 games left, playing spoilers the funnest thing to do. So I was saying that I think like 3 weeks ago of like, hey, just ruin it for everybody else now. You're out of the picture. They didn't do that. They could have ruined it for Iowa State. Didn't do that. Could have ruined it for Texas. Didn't do that. So on and so forth. But they can ruin it for the Oklahoma schools and, ruin it a little bit for K-State as well. But it's the same things we've been saying every week. They got to go out there and actually do it. And I think they can. They just haven't done it yet.
No, they haven't. So a lot of moving parts all of a sudden. Baylor men will play in Vegas. That's not official, but that will be official at some point. Baylor women tonight play against Central Arkansas. And then also they're going to honor Dee Dee Richards with a couple of different T-shirts about, stay strong and all that. I know there's different mentions on there. Of course, she's better, much better. So that's really cool as they open up the 2020-21 season. You take every game and you hug it because you don't know how many there's going to be. You embrace it no matter how, whether you watch it on television or you're in person. You do, because you don't know how many games, because none of us saw what was about to happen. All of a sudden, Kansas City and around the country, games are getting shut down left and right because of COVID. The lineup today, we'll hear from La Vega's Don Hyde. There's a crazy stat about them in La Vega, Argyle. Argyle wins early. La Vega wins in the postseason. Of course, they won the state title. We did the game. Remember, in 2015 in Houston, 33-31. Also, Jennifer Smoke, Fantasy Football League expert at 3:45. Boy, she had a great week. Sam Bradshaw will join us today at 4. We'll have Football Bob at 5:30. So a couple of college football analyst geniuses with us at 4 and 5:30. Olin on the Aggies at 4:45. Their college football ranking. Lee Sterling on Vegas at 4:30. John Machota, our pick'em. A lot of things to get to today, including Grandview head coach Ryan Epner and their great series that short time series with Malakoff as they push each other towards greatness as well. 254-339-1122 is the number to call. 254-339-1122 is the number to call. Also, this one is well from Barely Interested. Very thankful for Sic'em365 Radio. What a lineup. It's like a double Wednesday, Friday Cup runneth over Palooza. And we appreciate that very much to you. And this is from Texas Turtle Girl. And she has been as loyal and supportive of us as anybody from start to finish. And I'm going to read it because we appreciate it. We feel the same way to you. As an avid listener, subscriber and reader of this site, we are indeed blessed to have all of you bringing us great sports news here in Central Texas. Willingness to take the risk to take on a startup at the beginning of COVID pandemic is something few people would think about, let alone actually making it happen. Your timing was perfect. The radio show started during a time of uncertainty, providing some normalcy, if only for 3 hours during the day. You all are really phenomenal at what you do, and I'm reading this because we appreciate you as well. Wishing all the staff at Sic'em365 most blessed, happy Thanksgiving. More than that, I want to thank you. All of what you do, continue to do for the fans. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. And, thank you. Because we did. This started on April the 6th was our first day, but there was about 2.5, 3 weeks before that of what we were going to try to do to put together. And honestly, I don't know if any of us, I don't know, I didn't expect this. We knew that there might be some sort of television, whatever. But I sent this picture of the studio to Mickey Spagnola. I was on the phone with him earlier. We'll have him Friday to talk Cowboys and the Washington Football Club. And I told him about the television broadcast. And I sent him a picture. He goes, "You're kidding me." Like he was blown away. It's a guy that works inside that big Star. Of course, that's his elite, hundreds of millions of dollar facility, but he was blown away by what we have.
Well, look, we've been in those studios. We did a show in their radio studios, and they're second to none. And this competes with that. I mean, this is the difference is we have one studio here, and the Star they have like 3 or 4, but of different things that they do. But to hear that from Mickey is kind of shows where we are. I remember they told us we were going to do this. My timeline for it was like, okay, well, we'll do the show from my house for, probably the rest of 2020. And then in January, February, something will happen. And then, we get a text going, "Hey, we signed a lease." Hey,
and we saw the structure going up. And now there's about to be 2 brand new hotels that will be up at some point. Of course, they're being built right next door to us, across from the north side of the Brazos, next to the MLK Plaza on Martin Luther King. And about, a driver, 3-wood, maybe even along an 800-yard par 5 to McLean Stadium, right down Martin Luther King and across underneath I-35. That Brett McMurphy, by the way, saying that Oklahoma-West Virginia game that we mentioned was postponed until December the 12th. Oklahoma has paused team activities. They've had their issues with it. Not everybody has been lucky, but there's certain teams that have had to deal with it. Look what Houston's had to deal now with back-to-back weeks. And so it's just a matter of some of them having some issues.
The rest of that tweet, and then tell me how Oklahoma State should feel after they heard those words.
The Sooners had discussions with Big 12 about postponing last week's game with Oklahoma State, but ultimately decided to play that game. Yeah, and Oklahoma State now wishes they probably would have postponed that game. But there's only one more day. There's only that December 12th, that's it. And they're playing Baylor on December the 12th because that game a few weeks ago had to be postponed.
Well, I mean, that game last week didn't matter, right? Oklahoma State fans told me like week 1 that they were already in the Big 12 championship game. So,
that was the reaction to Baylor pushing the game back, or the Big 12 pushing the game back to that week. Was, well, why would we even have to play that game? We're going to be in the Big 12 championship. Why risk anything?
Legit had that like word for word in my inbox a couple of times when Baylor had to pull out of that game. And I just was like, I'm going to hold on to this in the back of my head because I'm pretty sure that they still have to play a team they never beat in Oklahoma. Sure enough, and they still have more games remaining, obviously.
Well, when you do that, like when you do that early in the season, when you've already decided, like, this is a win, this is a win, this is a win, this is a win, that you've set yourself up to be sad. Like you've said it because in your head, you've created something that's not true yet.
Yeah, and you also did it in the weirdest of years, so you're not that smart to try and predict the year that this has been and think that, just on paper, we're going to – I mean, everybody gets the schedule and they go, this should be a win, and do all that. But Oklahoma State was riding pretty high after like 2 games and feeling like they were going to be just marching right on into Arlington.
And had not even played Texas or Oklahoma or anybody. Yeah,
no,
I think they'd beaten somebody. Maybe it was West Virginia and Kansas.
I have nothing against Oak State, but that's just, you talk that talk, and you better walk that walk, and they got walked over last weekend.
One other note in college football, then we break and have Don Hyde La Vega against Argyle coming up on Friday night in Joshua. Rashad Bateman has opted out. He told and had conversation with P.J. Fleck. This was just released. After conversations with Coach Fleck and my family, we decided that after the most recent COVID outbreak and the cancellation of this weekend's game, that it made it makes the most sense to begin to focus on my next stage in my career. So this is about the NFL.
Yeah, he's a very highly sought after.
Very highly sought. Yeah,
so it's just.
And he wasn't going to play in the first place, was he?
He was not going to play, and then he came back in, and then because the Big Ten wasn't going to play, so he wasn't going to play, and then the Big Ten made their announcement, and then he's like, "Oh, well, I'll play again." And Minnesota's not having a great year. There's this COVID stuff, and so, it's kind of like what Ebner and Lovett did, except for he's just making it official and doing an announcement and all that. He just followed through on his decision, whereas they didn't, and others have done something similar where they've. Maybe initially they weren't going to play, like Rondale Moore wasn't going to play initially. And then even when the Big Ten came back, probably still wasn't going to play. But, eventually decided, I'm going to go ahead and play. So, we've had all sorts of decisions like this. I think for the higher-ranked guys like a Bateman, and that just makes sense. What
this is becoming is almost a month earlier than the bowl games, where guys were starting to take themselves out of bowl games, and it all goes back to what happened with Jalen Smith, is that right?
In his case, I can understand it. Like, he is going to be a high draft pick. There's other guys that are making decisions that I don't even know if he'll get drafted. You know what I mean? So, like, in his situation, Rondale Moore's situation, if you would have seen Trevor Lawrence do it, like, all of that would have been totally understandable. And even for the guys who aren't going to be in the NFL, if they didn't want to play this year, would have totally understood because of all the hassles. But, that's an NFL guy through and through.
All right, when we come back, Don Hyde and La Vega, when they played Argyle, they got beat up a little bit on the scoreboard, but it was a game that, La Vega turned the ball over. They don't do that a lot. They didn't run the ball well. They didn't stop the run well. Argyle ran all over them, but it was maybe a little bit deceiving, right? Well, we'll hear from Don Hyde on their rematch with Argyle. We'll also hear from Jennifer Smoke on a brilliant general manager move that gave her a win against a highly ranked opponent that probably still hasn't clinched a playoff spot. All of that and more. Sam Bradshaw at 4, Football Bob at 5:30. This with Jack and Tyler again today. Running the mothership is Sic'em365 Radio. So let's say you've tried every possible way you can think of to lose weight, to trim inches off of your belly or your waistline, and it just hasn't worked for whatever reason. Maybe you've had success and you've stopped. There's probably something that's happened that created that for you. Muscle-Wise Nutrition is a company that was built and created by some 30-plus doctors, physicians in Central Texas who have seen their patients try all of the do-it-yourself diets, lose a little bit of weight, but unfortunately along the way they're not only losing weight, they're losing muscle, and that's not what you want to do. There are times, and I remember this when I started to try to lose some weight, that sometimes I would gain a pound or two, and oh my God. And a lot of times it's because I started to create muscle. Muscle is heavier. There's nothing wrong with that. Muscle-Wise Nutrition is going to try to help you lose weight, help coached by those who understand how to lose weight, and not lose muscle. And that's very critical. Here's an email address for you. You're about to hit the holidays. Tomorrow you're about to maybe fill your gut with all sorts of turkey and ham and whatever else. And then hit the holidays, and the next thing you know, I'll wait till after the first of the year. Why not react now? And you can. This email address, it's simple to remember. Sic'em365 at musclewisenutrition.com. Let a coach from their company contact you, guide you through it, kind of understand what they're doing, what you want to do, and help you lose weight without losing muscle. Sic'em365 at musclewisenutrition.com.
Have you tried a do-it-yourself program to lose weight? You may not know that in a typical do-it-yourself program, a quarter of the weight you lose is due to muscle breakdown and loss. With COVID harming obese and overweight patients, being at ideal body weight is more important now than ever. Over 30 physicians in Central Texas, tired of seeing patients fail at losing weight themselves, opened Muscle-Wise Nutrition. This is a coach-managed weight loss program that targets fat and spares muscle. The 4 Muscle-Wise locations have taken off over 19,000 pounds from Texas dieters in the last few years. The combination combination of coaching and weekly body composition analysis to target the fat loss are the keys to success. The coaches teach you how to eat and live a healthy lifestyle. Email Sic'em365 at musclewisenutrition.com today, and the coaches will contact you about their free educational seminars. Do not wait. Email today and start MuscleWise at Sic'em365 at musclewisenutrition.com.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi, great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco, house-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine, best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
What you do in privacy is your own business. What you do in public with your truck, well, that's our business at Pickup Outfitters. In your garage, it's okay for your truck to parade around in the nude with no accessories. Hey, this is still America. But when you bring your truck out in public, it's just common decency to put an outfit on your truck. And that's where we come in at Pickup Outfitters. Put a cover on that bed. Cover your rear end with a bumper and a hitch, for goodness sakes. There are women and children on the roads. And guys, don't leave your tools exposed. Put them in a toolbox. Be proud of your truck and stand tall with a lift kit. Or improve your truck's posture with a leveling kit. Add some class to your pickup with new wheels and tires. Or dress up for a date with your new RV or boat with a fifth wheel or a receiver hitch. At Pickup Outfitters, we're dedicating to making the roads decent for all Central Texans. So when taking your truck out in public, remember your manners and accessorize it properly with an outfit from Pickup Outfitters. 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Hi, this is La Vega head football coach Don Hyde, and you're listening to SicEm365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke. This is your home for the best high school football coverage in Texas.
This segment with La Vega Pirates football coach Don Hyde is sponsored by American Bank, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, Southwest Sports Medicine.
Well, Don, this is kind of almost like a tradition. You play Argyle in a non-district game, and it's always good, and then you play them in the playoffs at some point, sometimes later, sometimes for a state championship, what you did. But you've had success against them in the playoffs. Your thoughts about the rematch? You kind of knew this might come.
Knowing at some point we would probably end up playing them again in a game that mattered a whole lot. And so, I'm just happy that our team's finally getting back to a healthy state, and we're finally, I believe, hitting on all cylinders. Kind of had a lull last week that you and I talked about, and a lot of that was a looking forward to Argyle type lull. And but once we got it going, we were just fine. And we're looking forward to the challenge. They're a very good football team.
Obviously, Ara didn't play in the opening game when you played him back, and they got you pretty good. He's back, and he's had enough time to get himself into a nice little rhythm along with the rest of the team. Other than that, was there something that you did or did not do or they did that concerns you in the rematch?
Well, I mean, if you go back and look at that game, in all honesty, we didn't do what we normally do well that allows us to be successful at La Vega High School, which is block, tackle, and take care of the football. And if you go back and analyze that film, as we've done numerous times since we played them, if we would have done those three things, I think we'd have been fine. Even at that, I think we're the only team all year that's held them to less than 300 yards of total offense that night. They had a short field. We didn't play well offensively. We gave them the ball on the 6-yard line one time. We didn't cross midfield till late in the second quarter. And not saying that we were the result, didn't get less than 300 yards, but we gave them a short field all the time. And so anytime you give an explosive offense like that, a short field, they're going to score some points. And I mean, at one point, I think we went halftime down 21-7 or something like that. And so it was still a game, and come out second half and hit a long run, and then shoot ourselves in the foot with a penalty. And so, there's some things we can definitely clean up and do better, and one of those things is what we preach every day at La Vega High School, which is block, tackle, and take care of the football.
Your thoughts about your team? They've had enough time, as you mentioned, and you mentioned last week, but you kind of got into a nice little rhythm, and you finally have some consistency, cohesiveness, chemistry, and all the above. Do you feel that way right now as you head into this game?
Yeah, I really feel good about our team right now. Not just from an offensive standpoint, we're getting Tripp back, but also from a defensive standpoint. What you got to remember is, I mean, we played the game without Tripp on offense, but he's an all-state safety too on defense. And Jordan played both ways at safety and quarterback, and was dog tired the whole time. And so, we've got a key cog of our offense back with our quarterback, and then we've got two key cogs of our defense back with him and Rogers back playing some defense.
This has become a heck of a stretch with the two of you. You won the state championship against them, and you've played them. You guys, you say, hey, listen, we might play again, but let's play each other in non-district. Has it turned into one just really good rivalry?
Experience award-winning service and expert advice on Ram at Allen Samuels. We'll make sure your Ram experience is everything you expect and more. Now, during the Black Friday sales event, new 2020 Ram Lone Stars feature employee pricing for all, plus 0% for 84 months or up to $3,750 in values. Get an additional $1,000 if you own a competitive brand. No trade-in required. Ram from Allen Samuels.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Texas Texas Farm Bureau Insurance in McLennan County takes pride in backing Central Texas football. Our agents would like to help with your insurance needs. Call 254-772-8090 for an agent near you.
This is Sic'em365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sic'em365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, here we go. And we gave ourselves just a couple of extra minutes so Paul and Jennifer would have time to talk about her team. And we need to, because it was a successful, an incredible weekend for the Stick It in Your Cup team.
Tuck It in Your Cup.
Tuck It in Your Cup team. Jennifer Smoke had the highest scoring team in her league. She's bounced back from a heartbreaking loss the week before. Jennifer, who gets credit for Taysom Hill? And obviously that's a one-week deal because all the leagues have changed the rules. But who gets credit for this?
Well, Daniel gets the credit. He's going to want me to say me because he knows that if the girls were listening, he would want me to say me. But I got to give him the credit for this one. It was a great move on his part. But, you know, I will say this. I know a lot of people think that it's unfair if people had in Taysom as, you know, their tight end. I mean, it's not our fault that y'all didn't think of it. But at the same time, I still would have won even if I didn't have Taysom as my tight end. So I don't feel guilty about it.
See, how close is Daniel sitting to you right now as you say that?
He's actually not here right now. He already left for Tyler.
Okay.
See, all right. But Jennifer, thank you for saying that. We've got our fantasy football show tonight, and Steve May and I are in a league together that he's the commissioner of. And on Friday night, I'm on my way back from the Riker game, and I have just a flurry of texts about, okay, we need to put it to a vote. Should Paul be able to play Taysom Hill at tight end? And, of course, I said yes. And the person I was playing said no. So our votes obviously don't count, but I lost that vote. But I still won that game by 30. So I still think it should have been fine.
All right, but you're going to get in trouble because this is about Jennifer's team. Remember, she'll get upset because this is about her team.
I care about Paul's team too because we talked about this before the games on Sunday because you always cut us short, so we have to talk outside of the show. And And we discussed that he put Taysom in too, and we both didn't even realize we did it.
Yeah, so there you go. Jennifer, you've got a tough matchup this week. This team you're playing, you guys are very evenly matched.
Yes. She's got two of the top wide receivers in fantasy right now, I think the top three right now, depending on what kind of league you have. But she has Devontae Adams and Keenan Allen. So that right there already is a hard matchup, a hard duo. And then she does have some pretty good wide receivers. I mean, she's got Chris Carson hopefully coming back this week. And I know that, you know, I'm hoping that they ease him back in after his injury, but I can also see them, you know, feeding him the ball a lot now that he's back healthy. So it's going to be a very tough matchup for me this week.
Craig?
Craig doesn't care about the team.
I don't even know who's on her team at this point because, I'm really not trying to do a bit here. I honestly don't know. No, I mean, she had like 5 different quarterbacks in the first 5 weeks. I have no idea who's even on her team. I'm not trying to be funny.
I know one of them is one of the great pickups was not just what she made the decision with Hill, but since Daniel's not there, how much do you love Justin Herbert, the quarterback of the LA Clippers? Clippers, I'm sorry,
Chargers.
Chargers.
Chargers. Oh, I love him so much. I mean, is there anything better than him right now as quarterback? I mean, he makes me proud week after week. But my whole group of guys, I've never been more proud of a group of guys. Every single one of my players just went and that's what's frustrating is they all went off last week, and some of them when I didn't even need them to. And so now, you know, it makes me worried for what they'll do this week. But I love my little Herbie. I love him so much. And also, you know, we were discussing last week how I don't have
Wait a minute. Hold on. You called him Herbie.
Oh, my little Herbie.
Yeah, my little Herbie.
Herbie the love bug. Hey, here's the new name of your team. Herbie the love bug.
Yeah, there you go.
Or love bugs.
Yeah.
No, I just love him so much. He just makes me so proud. But last week, you know, we were talking about how I don't have a backup quarterback. And so now that I do have Taysom on my roster, I do feel like he's got some upside. And I was debating going back between him and Derek Carr, because I was also considering picking Carr up after last week when we discussed that I need somebody on my bench. But I mean, after watching how successful Taysom was with throwing the ball, I mean, a lot of the incomplete passes were on the receiver's fault. So he also, his running game, he's just so diverse on the field. So I feel kind of comfortable having him as a backup right now. And I'll still keep my eye out on Carr if need be.
Does anybody else notice the change in picture this week? Did you go to the mall and get like professional shots done since your photo last week?
Is that a portfolio picture that we finally have up? The other one was like you had, I don't know what that one was out.
Okay, well, first of all, I thought, I don't even know what picture y'all are using, because I was under the impression there was a whole nother picture up there the last several weeks. And then I find out it's another picture. And I was like, I didn't even think that was the one that was up there. But is it my profile pic?
No, this is whatever one you sent Smokey last week.
It's Facebook profile pic.
I guess that's it. The other one was you in a yellow shirt. It was in a yellow shirt. And
yeah, I didn't know y'all were using that one. I didn't send that to you guys. Y'all must have gotten that off my Facebook, but that's fine. Okay,
well,
so back
I didn't
to
get it
my
off
fantasy.
Facebook, and neither did Craig. It must have been Paul.
I don't have one, yeah.
Okay, so back to my fantasy team, because this is a big week for me, Dad. Okay, so I need all the help I can get here, because Galladay is still expected to be out this week. And once again, I'm going to have to decide between Claypool and Jefferson. And Claypool is up against the Ravens, okay? And then Jefferson is up against the Panthers. So I need to decide, because, I did pick up David Montgomery off waivers this week because I wanted to have another running back on my bench if need be. And I do, with Chicago hasn't really been doing that great lately. So I feel like they're going to, he cleared concussion protocol and is supposed to start against Green Bay, who we all know has one of the worst rushing defenses in the league. So I think that Chicago's been missing him, but I'm going to keep him on my bench because there's no way I can put him in over Jacobs or Robinson right now. And in a PPR league, I want a wide receiver in that flex position because I can get more points potentially that way. So, Paul, what do you think about Jefferson and Claypool?
Jefferson is more like the problem with the Steelers receivers is that, Ben has just kind of picked guys each week to like be the guy. Deontay Johnson's the best one to have, and you got rid of him, and he's on your opponent's bench right now. But Claypool is fine. I just think that Jefferson is more likely to get the targets. And you saw late in the game last week, early on, I was a little nervous about that advice about putting him in, and later on in the game, he got the targets because he's just been that guy, and they need him. And Adam Thielen is COVID this week, so
he'll probably still play, right?
No, he's on the reserve.
Out.
He's out.
Well, that's even,
so he's on the reserve list because he's got it. So Jefferson more likely to be the number one target in Minnesota.
Okay, yeah, that's what I think. And last time they were up against the Ravens, he only had 5 catches for 42 yards. He did get a touchdown, but I'm not sure about that matchup this time. So
did you know that game has been pushed back to Sunday? By the way, the Ravens and Steelers is not tomorrow night as well. Okay.
Yes, that's upsetting that there's not going to be a game Thanksgiving evening. But yeah, I knew that Ingram and Dobbins and I think some other players and coaches had tested positive. So yeah, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. Okay, I'm going to go with Jefferson then, because I do feel like he's like you said, I think he has the potential to get more points. And then, she has Tom Brady, who he's been inconsistent, but he's got to be a must start every week. But she also picked up the number 1 kicker in the league, Jason Sanders, because he was available. So, I mean, it's going to be hard. Alex, I'm playing Alex, and she had, I think, started out with a loss every week, and she's now won 5 weeks in a row. So it just shows, and we're tied right now, and she's got a little bit more points for her. So it just shows how you can start off rocky and then you can come back and make it to the playoffs. So she's on fire right now. She's on a roll. So it's going to be a close one, I feel like.
Did you say that to give Baylor fans hope?
No, I think y'all just need to look forward to next year. But that's okay.
Call him like she sees him.
Yeah, that's why you're on the show.
Why is the listener count dropping dramatically all of a sudden?
There's going to be
click.
Go Bears, though.
Click.
There's going to be a thread on the message board being like, listen, I used to like Jennifer.
Well, don't get it twisted. I mean, she loved her some Brittany Griner, and she loves her some Dee Dee Richards. So she's very much a Baylor supporter.
Yes, I am. I'm always supporting the Baylor Bears. I just don't think this is, the Bears' year, but that's okay. There's always every other year after this. And besides, this has been a rough year for everybody. So, we'll focus on 2021 for the Bears.
By the way, the Vikings are playing at home against Carolina, and they play pretty good defense, don't they, Paul?
Mm-hmm.
They are.
They're all right.
They're okay. They're Phil Snow in they're Phil Snow in year one, and I think they'll get much better as they get more players in there that they like, and as they just kind of get used to the system. But yeah, they got a good base to start off of for sure.
Well, guys, speaking about defenses, I don't know if y'all recall this or not, but last week I remember saying that I had the Browns defense on my bench, and I don't know if it was Paul or
it was
who, but I'm pretty sure that. Yeah, that was I could have put them in last week, and they would have had a stellar week. I mean, they had 2 interceptions, 1 interception for a touchdown, a fumble recovery, a safety, and 5 sacks. They got like 20 points in fantasy. So
that was their one-off. That was their one-off week. They've played terrible all year.
But you can't give her bad advice.
Carson Wentz. You should play. You should. You know what? Here's the advice on defense. If your defense is playing Carson Wentz for the rest of the year, put him in.
God.
God.
Yeah, because we all know how good he is. Okay. So then also I need, and then another thing. Speaking of defenses, because y'all know I'm mad at him because I drafted him and it was the worst decision I've ever made. But I need to decide.
Is that worse than?
Saquon, don't go there, Dad.
Okay.
So because look how Zeke's doing this year. It's not like that would have been a better pick for me.
He'd be in the lineup. I'm just saying.
But I feel like I have more confidence in Jacobs and Robinson than Zeke right now. So I feel like I got away with that one by not having Saquon anymore. But, okay, one more decision I need to make is I have the Colts and the Rams defense. Now, the Rams are up against San Francisco. So I'm leaning towards going with the Colts, but do you have a suggestion on that?
Well, the 49ers are not, they're not nearly at full strength. And the Titans, even they play good defenses, they still have Derrick Henry. They still have, A.J. Brown and Corey Davis. So I would just, I think if you keep, you've got the Rams in there, right? I'm looking at your lineup. You've got the Rams in there right now. I don't think that's a bad choice. The Colts, they're going to get sacks. They're going to get that. But, the Rams against the 49ers, the 49ers are playing.
Rams are playing pretty well right now.
Yeah, the Rams are playing well. The 49ers are playing with a backup quarterback, backup running back, pretty much all their backup wide receivers. They've got offensive linemen out. Yeah, it's probably a good week for Aaron Donald and the Rams.
Okay. All right. Then I might have to lean towards them then too.
All right. Let's get back to this Alex person and what's happening to her in her winning streak. How do we get her COVID? Can we somehow get her? Can she take the week off? How do we do this?
No, Dad, we just have to, honestly, I just have to hope that my players perform as good as they did last week and just, I need basically no slip-ups. I can't have anybody having a bad week this week because it's so important. Her and I are tied right now. And if I beat her, I'm pretty sure I can clinch a spot in the playoffs because we still have about 5 people that are all in the running, 4 people that are tied, and hers is far in first. Okay, so she's for sure getting into the playoffs. But if I win this week, it'll make me really comfortable. This week and next week are the last 2 weeks before playoffs. So this is the most important weeks of fantasy right now.
Okay.
So it would be so awesome if I could beat her because it would really help me out. And I need a couple other people to lose. But
so do you need us to have a group, like a group prayer for your team among SicEm365 Radio people? Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
We'll
all the prayers.
We'll do that.
Okay. Thank you. Right. I appreciate that.
Did you know that Oklahoma's game was canceled against West Virginia?
No, I didn't hear that yet.
Well, we just told you that game has been it's been postponed until December the 12th. Thought you'd want to know that too.
Okay, well, because I love my Sooners, but we can't talk about that on Baylor Bear Radio.
Yeah, we can. You have your Paul, Florida State. I love Alabama.
You Alabama.
I've been a Clemson fan my entire life.
Yeah, no, we're all Longhorn fans, not.
No, we're not. Now, there goes another click.
There's another
click,
one.
Click.
Jennifer's
I'm fine losing those. I'm fine losing the Horn listeners. That's fine.
All right. Well, a great week, a fantastic week. And hey, Jack, we didn't put up we never did get that image, that graphic of the scoring sheet. Did we ever get that? Did Armstrong put that in the system?
Win to be proud of.
Yeah, the one that I gave Armstrong that. I guess he didn't put it in. I should have asked you that beforehand. I guess we didn't have that. All right. Thank you, Jennifer. Anything else?
Okay. No, I mean, I scored 169.5 points if y'all were wondering. So
yeah, no, we knew that.
You don't have the graphic.
You beat a really good team by 30-something points and beat them into the ground, and then Cooper Kupp.
Well, it's because Matt Ryan didn't have a good week either, thank God, because that could have hurt me. I know that hurt Paul too, but him not doing very well really, really helped me out. Well, but also my team just did good.
Yeah, your team overwhelmed Tara with the T.
Well, I'm so excited for you, Jennifer. This really,
thanks, Craig.
Really makes me happy. Very excited.
Thank you, Craig. I hope you have a good Thanksgiving after we've had this conversation. So I hope this makes your holidays even better. All right. Love you guys. See you.
All right. Thank
you next week. Okay.
As Jennifer
Bye-bye.
spoke, she had an incredible week. She's had a high-scoring week almost every week except one. She won a low-scoring battle. But it was against an SEC opponent, so they played defense. All right, so that's Jennifer. We'll see where she is. She needs a huge win. Pray for her and her team against Alex. When we come back, 4 o'clock, Sam Bradshaw will break down Kansas State. We'll hear from Grandview football coach Ryan Ebner. And then today at 4:30, Lee Sterling on what Vegas thinks about the weekend. And I'm not sure. I'm sure he had Oklahoma and West Virginia on his games and how we'll try to redirect something else. SicEm365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, the holiday savings event going on right now. It's the most wonderful time of the year, and it's the most wonderful time of the year to save big on all remaining 2020 vehicles in stock, plus on the incoming 2021 GMC Sierras. The Sierra, a truck with it all, power, first-class seating, unbeatable technology. It's the best truck on the road. And during Richard Carr's holiday savings event, qualified buyers can unwrap $8,000 off of a 2021 GMC Sierra Texas Edition Crew Cab at Richard Carr. If you're looking for a top-of-the-line midsize SUV, Richard Carr's offering $7,000 off of GMC Terrains. They're also offering $7,500 off of Buick Envisions. You can test drive both and save big today at Richard Carr. The ultimate gift this Christmas is a Cadillac. Right now, you can save $3,000 and get 0% financing for 72 months on most Cadillacs in stock, including the XT4s, XT5s, and XT6s. Let Richard Carr bring the Cadillac experience to you with test drives at your home or at your office. And you can also get a new 2020 Buick Encore for only $18,950, less than $20,000 for a 2020 Buick Encore, plus over $5,000 in savings. At Richard Carr, they love their healthcare workers, military, and first responders. Right now, all these valuable community heroes will get GM supplier pricing on all cars in stock, and for every car or truck sold now, Richard Carr will donate a new bike to Toys for Tots Waco. So get yourself a great deal and give a deserving kid a bike this Christmas. See dealer for more details. It's a holiday sales event at Richard Carr. Get there now. Go to richardcarr.com or have them bring the test drive to you.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Bird Culture Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the #1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culture Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culture Ford. And are there better vehicles to tailgate with than the Ford F-150 or the Ford Expedition? And of course, you can get them new pre-owned Bird Culture Ford. Our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week, locally owned dealership. Online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. Bird Culture Ford.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
MP Electric has developed a quality-oriented electrical contracting service in more than 20 years in the industry. Led by President Mark Perry, our electricians go through a 5-year apprenticeship program, are licensed by the state of Texas, and getting continuous education annually upon renewal. In great part, the success of MP Electric lies with its management and professional expertise of its employees. All of our employees share a dedication to quality and commitment to serving the needs of our customers. For new construction and remodels, parking lot, lighting and surge protection, landscape lights, security lights, troubleshooting and repairs. For industrial manufacturing, food and beverage, paper and publishing, heavy industry, cement and rock crushing plants, water distribution plants, and utilities. For 20 years, MP Electric has serviced industrial, commercial, and residential products. We do service right. MP Electric Inc. at 1890 Galaxy Road, Waco. MPElectricusa.com.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Welcome back to Sic'em365 Radio.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Looking to get to the edge, and he gets there. There goes Abner into plus territory. 1 man to beat. How about a Baylor touchdown to open our second half? 100 yards to the house.
It's time for our weekly segment with Sam Bradshaw of SicEm365.com. Now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
That earlier note about Oklahoma in Morgantown, or won't be in Morgantown against West Virginia, that game pushed back to December the 12th, which was kind of like one of those cushion weeks. Cole Barber with a text. Baylor plays Oklahoma next week, and you wonder how that might be affected or how it affects the game in Norman.
Because they don't have any makeup dates
That's exactly right.
that they share.
In case there's more problems.
That's Colt's point, is that there's not any makeup room for Oklahoma if they don't have enough players available now. That's a week and a half away. So I would think we'd have a much better, clear picture by late this weekend, early next week. But yeah, that's something to at least start to, if you're Mack Rhoades and company, I guess kind of think about a little bit about the possibilities.
And also, Oklahoma is trying to get themselves to a Big 12 championship game, and we'll figure out how the weekend shakes down before we know who moves into the next week as still a contender. We're now joined by Sam Bradshaw. Sam Bradshaw joins us on SicEm365 Radio, S11, Football Genius. Baylor, Kansas State, preview part 1, advanced depth chart, and then, of course, you broke down what they do, K-State. Is their offense, who's more offensively challenged right now, Kansas State or Baylor?
Thanks for having me on. And first and foremost, the differences with these two teams is Kansas State is taking a noticeable step back on offense because they've lost almost everybody from last year. Their starting quarterback went down injured against Texas Tech, and he was their third leading rusher last year. Their top 2 rushers graduated. They lost 2 of their top 4 receivers, and the third one was considering opting out. Now he's not opting out. And they lost 5 fifth-year senior offensive linemen that were good ones. And that's just a lot of talent to replace in a year. And they have 2 good newcomers in Deuce Vaughn and FCS transfer tight end Briley Moore. But it's just something where they've got a little bit of difficulty because that passing game was struggling to get open last fall. And with all the attrition they've had, it's been a little rough slug for them. in order to trying to get that going. I think they're very good at doing certain things. What they want to do, they want to get in, use their big personnel, get angles on you. They will pull every single player on the offensive line. They'll pull their center. They'll pull their guard. They'll pull their tackles. Sometimes they'll pull multiple guys. They're going to find an angle. They're going to pull guys to the perimeter, or they're going to run A-gap power at you where the backside guard's going to shuffle square to the line of scrimmage, and they're going right at you. It's a physical run-based offense that complements itself with a passing attack that's very pro-style. It's a unique challenge in the Big 12 that hadn't gone well for them that much this fall, simply just because they've been losing people. But it's a unique challenge, and you're going to have to be ready for it.
You mentioned the offensive line in one of your articles. 154 starts among 5 fifth-year seniors. 154 starts out the window.
Yeah, and they returned one guy who was a backup guard last year that I think he's seen a fair amount of time. But other than that, it's all basically fresh faces. And, I mean, these guys have been out of high school long enough. It's not like you're throwing a bunch of freshmen in there. But in terms of starting experience and having been through those battles in crunch time, you're very light on experience there. And that's something that caught up with them a little bit. And they've had to make some things work. And they've had some good schemes, good ways to get guys open. They really did a good job of that against Oklahoma with Deuce Vaughn, using him on some option routes and a couple other concepts to get them some big plays on offense. But they've kind of had to work around those limitations.
So when we look at Kansas State, are we looking at two different teams undergoing two different parts of their life, or were they smoke and mirrors earlier in the season?
Well, I wouldn't say smoke and mirrors because, this is a great coaching staff that at the FCS level, they were the dynasty. In the 2010s, they won almost every national title you could get at the FCS level. And they were built to build up big linemen, wear you down on both sides of the ball. They're going to make you beat them. The classic Midwestern, upper Midwest, Plains kind of recruiting strategy of get old and stay old on the offensive line, and you develop guys, and you have a pipeline where you just keep crunching on guys. And they're very good at developing that. This was just going to be a down year with all the guys they've lost because they've got to get the pump primed for them to have that pipeline going in the future. And I don't think they were smoke and mirrors to begin with, but I do think they absolutely won the turnover battle and the field position battle to a dramatic degree. And they've lost those badly over the last 3 weeks. And understandably, their fortunes have flipped. In terms of yardage per drive, which is the way I tend to look at yardage because it doesn't bias with style of play or how many plays you run, they were actually kind of below what other Power 5 teams were doing on both sides of the ball against their schedule. But when you have a massive field position advantage and when you have 4 non-offensive scores for touchdowns and when you block 4 kicks or punts over the course of the season, you can make up for that. But when those other field position and turnovers and kicking game things aren't giving you that boost, all of a sudden your efficiencies show up, and it's led to them having a rough 3 weeks.
Sam, we know the struggles of the Baylor offense. I mean, they've shown a little bit more maybe in the last couple of games. What do you see as far as the challenge K-State presents defensively?
Well, K-State, they're a bit of a throwback to kind of the early 2010s where everybody was in somewhat of a 4-down set. They're a base 4-2-5, but it's really a 4-3. They just put a corner in it, Sam linebacker. And what they do is they're just in that nickel set, 4 down, and they're going to play a bunch of split safety coverages, some cover 3. Occasionally they'll throw some man at you. They don't blitz as often as a lot of other teams. They blitz more than K-State used to do because they were very much a do what we do and make you beat us defense under Snyder. But it's somewhat of a vanilla scheme compared to some of them that you see in the Big 12. But it's going to be interesting because a lot of the gap-oriented schemes that you saw work pretty well against Tech, maybe the zone schemes work a little better against this 4-man line. because they're playing their defensive line a little differently. They're giving you a little different matchup in terms of that. But for the most part, their personnel is pretty similar to what you've seen from K-State over the last decade. You know, you got your standard four-man front. You got some guys that work pretty hard at defensive tackle, but aren't going to wow you. They usually have one really good defensive end. Their linebackers are smaller, faster. And, you know, their safeties usually are physical guys, but they're not exactly the most rangy guys in the Big 12. And if you can get your guys isolated on them, there's the potential for big plays.
Sam, Quaylon Jones was good against Texas Tech, and I put up a note yesterday, and Taylor Bryan confirmed that with me. He had 21 carries against Texas Tech, and even though they had the gut-wrenching loss, it's the first time since the Texas Tech game 2 years ago when John Lovett had 27 or 28 carries, that a running back has had 20-plus carries. There's been some 15, 16, 17, whatever. But now you have Lovett and Ebner apparently back. Quaylon Jones, who likes to get the kind of carries, he's a big guy. What do you do with all them?
Well, if you're running GT counter, I'd be very tempted to keep Quaylon in there. He was a machine against Texas Tech on that concept where you're pulling the backside guard and backside tackle and you're getting downhill. But honestly, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
You got a couple of very proven guys, including a very versatile one in Ebner. And then you add a guy that has a little more weight to him, a little more physical at the point of attack, in terms of his size and speed combination in Jones. And he gives you some things where you can situationally put different guys in there.
Excuse me, Sam Bradshaw with us on Sic'em365 Radio.
How would you work in if Quaylon winds up being the best guy for it? How do you work in the other two guys though?
Well, first and foremost, Fedora has done a lot of two backs in the backfield throughout his tenure at North Carolina and Southern Miss, depending on the personnel he's had. So you don't always have to pick just between one guy, you know. And then also, there's situationally, you know, if you're in longer yardage, you'll obviously lean a little more towards Ebner because he's just such a valuable option as a receiver. I mean, you look at conversion he had that he broke for a touchdown against Iowa State, for instance. And then Lovett's just so good all around. You want to rotate him, and it works pretty well. You keep everybody's legs fresh, and you give the defense different guys to have to match up with.
What do you think about with Ben Sims and Tyquan Thornton coming back as well? I mean, having this big boost of not only the backs, but also, I mean, we've barely seen Tyquan this year at all, Sam. I mean, how much can those guys maybe open some things up or give them some different looks offensively?
Getting Thornton back will be big because coming into the season, everybody's thinking he is your most proven guy on the outside. And in terms of being able to hit big plays downfield, he's absolutely that. And then you got Snead, who's been able to be really good on some possession routes on the other side. And then Sims, along with Dabney, you can get in some two tight end looks. You can create some issues that K-State might not be preparing for. And also, remember, K-State, they're two stacked linebackers, Mike and Will. Those guys were out for contact tracing last game. Depending on when they tested or when whoever they came in contact with was tested, they may or may not be back. If those backups are in there, get into as many different formations, keeping things simple for your guys, but make those guys process things quickly. Make those guys process different things. Make them get to different spots in their zone drops. Make them get to different run fits. And, you know, you get an inexperienced guy in there, you might be able to break some things that the starters wouldn't let you.
You know, I saw a couple of different highlights of their game with with Iowa State last week. Of course, they have Breece Hall. And the linebackers were just absolutely, and they had, maybe this week allows them to kind of get okay. But, yeah, they were out of position a lot. And so the misdirection and whatever else you were talking about. Daniel on the text line just said, hey, with all the running backs back, they should run some misdirection, maybe a little flea flicker even. K-State linebackers and defensive backs might just bite.
I think that's a good chance. And Brewer actually hit a double move, I think, to Tyquan actually, for a bomb against them last fall. So, I mean, you've had success against these guys. And then getting two backs in the backfield. Remember when Brewer went down and Bohannon was in there, they ran a quarterback read option where the running back was taking the sweep, and they broke it for a touchdown. So there's the option to do a lot of different things formationally with multiple backs, with multiple tight ends that can really put these guys into a bind, because K-State's got a decent set of corners, but their best corner, they moved to nickel. And some of these other guys are pretty new to the program. I mean, they lost 3 of their top 4 corners from last fall. And I got to think that if you can put them in some good spots, you can get some plays off of them.
Sam, just from a talent standpoint, I know this is something that you'll do more towards the offseason, but now that we're finally getting a look at what this team could potentially be near full strength, I mean, they're not all the way because Squirrel Williams isn't available, but do you like the young talent you see from Dabney to Sims to the receivers to the, what we got to see from Quaylon Jones and Tay McWilliams last week? And just what are kind of your base thoughts on some of the younger offensive talent that you've seen?
A lot of the younger guys that you've seen, I've had a pretty high opinion on them. I mean, even Gavin Byers coming in on the offensive line, the guy needs some time in the offseason. He needs a weight room. But I like what he can potentially turn into from the limited snaps I saw from him. I like what Dabney is. I like Squirrel. I like Dave McWilliams. I like Quaylon Jones. I like what you've seen from a lot of these guys, but you have to keep developing, because there's a number of guys where everyone's like, oh, yeah, they look great. And then they're the same next year. Right. And they don't progress.
Yeah.
And then there's other guys that you didn't expect to turn into what they were. And then all of a sudden they get to be a senior like Jalen Petrie, and all that work shows out. And you have not only a very reliable player, but a very productive player.
Sam, as always, man, thanks for jumping on with us early this week. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and we appreciate your analysis and breakdown and everything else.
Thanks for having me on. Happy Thanksgiving.
You too. Sam Bradshaw, college football analyst at 4 o'clock at 5:30. College football analyst, football Bob in his regular spot. We'll have Cowboys talk with John Machota at 5. Our pick 'em at 5:20. And Lee Sterling will come up here just a moment from ParamountSports.com. Ryan Ebner, the head coach at Grandview, they have another game with Malakoff. They played earlier this year. 2-time defending state champions Grandview won in overtime, 31-24. This is Sic'em365 Radio. Quality, premium, convenient, easy to have what you need done. And it's affordable as heck. In fact, it's ideal MRI. An average MRI can cost around, in fact, a little over $1,100. So if that's the average, there's some that cost much more, some that cost less. And the thing about Ideal MRI, there's no average. Not really, because their cost is $497 for an MRI every single time, and maybe even sometimes less. And the accessibility, the hospitality, the equipment, the state-of-the-art MRI machine, and all of the staff are fantastic people. So that's one reason why Ideal MRI, because of just the fact it's great when it comes to your pocketbook or your wallet. Really smart doctors that come from places like Johns Hopkins Hospital or Stanford have subspecialty training in the area of your scan. That means the brain MRI will be read by a neurologist, and also your knee MRI by a musculoskeletal radiologist. Physicians will provide your doctor with what you want them to give them. If you have, for example, an orthopedic surgeon that suggested MRI, let Ideal MRI do your MRI, and they will send the information, the scan, to them. I had that happen back in late March. I've talked about my experience, and it was flawless, and it was very, very low maintenance, because I've had a couple of MRIs that have spooked me a little bit just because of that tunnel, and if you've been in one, it can be a little bit frightening. And I'm not trying to be overly dramatic. Some people get spooked because of claustrophobic or whatever. It's just the way they set it up, the way they helped me out before I got inside of that MRI machine was fantastic. State-of-the-art in Waco, in the Central Texas marketplace, just off of I-35 and right there as you head on Loop 340. Call them, set it up. $497 or less at idealmri.com.
Let
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC. Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
How often have you said it's time to get in shape? Every day, every week, every month, maybe for as long as you can remember? How about starting today? I promise if you'll just join Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness now, you'll thank me later. Hi, this is David Smoke, offering a variety of 40 group exercise classes every single week, including boot camp on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:15, plus spin, body shaping, Pilates, yoga, and bar. And oh, there's a free kids club as well. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness open Monday through Thursday, 5 to 10, Friday 5 to 8, Saturday and Sunday 7 to 7, and personal trainers Christy London and Randall Court. World-class tennis facility with pros Britt Coleman and Joe Rosa with lessons, camps, and special events. Spacious and clean workout rooms, locker room for men and women, both with a whirlpool and sauna, and now there's touchless bottle filling stations. No intimidation, tremendous camaraderie, an entirely new atmosphere, and yes, you can do this, but you have to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to Sic'em365 Radio.
The Sic'em365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
You know, I mentioned that La Vega Argyle series that in 2015 La Vega won for the state title, and they've met every year the last 3 years in the regular season, non-district, and now for the third consecutive year in the playoffs, which La Vega's won the playoff games. And there's also this little mini series between Malakoff and Grandview that has become amazing in a lot of different ways. They played for a state championship back in 2008. They've played this year in overtime. Grandview always seems to have just enough. Well, and that's why they've won back-to-back state titles. And Friday at 1 o'clock at Waco ISD Stadium, Grandview and Malakoff meet again. And I had a chance to visit with their head coach at Grandview, the Zebras head coach, and Ryan Ebner. Grandview head football coach Ryan Ebner with us on Sic'em365 Radio. How fun and yet intense and amazing has this series been with you and Malakoff?
Oh, it's just both those things, and sometimes with the intensity comes some enjoyment. If you're a competitor and you like those things. Some of the best part is just our relationship that we've built with them. I think both communities enjoy watching the teams play, and I think both teams played in a certain way that you can respect the other one, and you appreciate how hard they play. And there's no doubt we respect Coach Driscoll's staff and the things they do with their team. So it's almost, you feel like you're kind of playing yourself, and you appreciate the way they do. They coach and play football, and I hope they do the same for us.
Well, in fact, that's exactly what they say. Is that it's ditto. It's just the same thing. It's like whatever they say about you is the same. And you guys have pushed each other to greatness. I know that you've had the upper hand, and it's been close overtime again this year to open up the year. It's always been tight. Have you two pushed each other? Do you feel like you've pushed each other to greatness?
Yeah, I feel like there's just coaches that you play throughout the state. It's kind of like us in Glen Rose, that when you play them after the game, you're going to be able to take a look at film, and you're going to see that they're going to put their great players in positions, the things that they didn't think maybe you weren't coaching them right to do, or could have coached them better to do, or maybe it was just a person that they were picking on doing a certain thing. But you're going to be able to take that tape and get better from it. And it's a harder pill to swallow when it's in the playoffs, of course. But regardless, you're able to look at the particular films, that being always one of the games that we can look at and go, all right, this is what great players do with great coaches, and these are things we got to get better at.
What has been the difference? Well, they've had great players. They've had quarterbacks and running backs and defensive players, and you, of course, have had your run as well. But what do you think has been the difference? Is it just the fact you were able to get a couple of those early, and that might be the edge?
Honestly, I don't. I can't say for 100%. I think some games there was the ball bounced in our direction, and in some ways, I don't know. Maybe we had a little bit of. I really don't know the answer to that. I don't. We've talked about the coach's office, and I don't think that we're doing anything different than they are. It's just happened the way it is. If I could, I could tell you this: if I knew it, I would make sure I was pulling that string every single time. Maybe you are and you don't know that you're doing it, but I think I just know from my standpoint, not talking about his locker room, I feel like the players we have, not that they're 1 second better than anything that they got over there. I just speak to the quote in mind. I just feel like my kids, of their whole careers, have gone and done their job in such a way that they're going to be successful. Being at that, beating Malakoff or any other person.
Yeah, no question. Again, we're talking to Ryan Ebner, head coach at Grandview. Malakoff coming up on Friday afternoon in Waco. And you have had this just edge, not just against Malakoff, but against others because of what you've had, the state championships as well. Do you feel like that some teams can't handle the constant, like you're the target? In a lot of ways, you've had people push you. Obviously, you played the game down in Salado earlier this year that was a challenge. Glen Rose, a game you didn't even have to take, was a challenge, among others, the Malakoff game. Do you feel like your players obviously have handled that very well with the target on their back?
Yeah, I think that the players and coaches do a great job of talking in and believing in, just control what you can control. And I say that, and people go, I know it's a cliche, blah, 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 but that's something we really believe in. And there's things that, like, your job is to ask certain questions and, picking apart certain things where our job is we're going to take care of the things that we can take control of. Like, for instance, weather. There's nothing we can do about it. The good Lord said it's going to rain that day, it's going to rain. And we're going to do what we need to. And so although it seems like a cliche, it also makes it a little bit more easier. You're just focused on what needs to be done with what you can handle from your standpoint. And I think this group is truly bought into that, and they play a little bit more free because of that. I'm going to go out and do my job the way the coaches ask, and then the outcome will be what it is.
And does it make it more special because obviously the winter moves on, but also it's the day after Thanksgiving? You hear about practicing Thanksgiving week. You have been very used to that, so have they as well?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, they've practiced the third round just as many times as what we have. So yeah, I mean, it's always a great time. It's a little bit tough from a coach standpoint. You're worried how much with all the free time they got, but also at the same time, you're also appreciative of the free time that the coaches get to spend extra time with their families and things like that. And it always makes for a great game because a lot of people are at home, and especially with this year being with all the COVID stuff, I think it's a big time joy for each of the communities to be able to go out there and appreciate their kids from their communities.
Ryan Ebner, head football coach at Grandview. Malakoff and Grandview is Friday afternoon at Waco ISD. This is SicEm365 Radio. All right, that's Friday at Waco ISD in the afternoon. So if you have something to do that night or a game to go to that's somewhat close and you have nothing to do on Friday early afternoon, that should be a classic. Grandview and Malakoff. All right, college football. Lee Sterling, ParamountSports.com. Thanksgiving tomorrow. College football already starting up, of course, in the NFL. Some of them this weekend. Baltimore and Pittsburgh move back to Sunday. Lee, thanks for your time. And the first game we were going to discuss, Oklahoma and West Virginia, has been postponed until December the 12th. Can you give us a sneak peek of what you might have said about those two?
I like West Virginia a lot. That was probably going to be my strongest play of the weekend for my clients. Just felt it was a great matchup coming off the bye. And, hey, I loved Oklahoma last week, but I think part of that was Oklahoma State's shortcomings on the offensive line. So I think West Virginia is one of the most improved teams and probably would have shown it and maybe had a chance to win outright. So we might have to wait a couple weeks now.
All right, so let's move instead. Notre Dame in the college football top four and North Carolina, Mac Brown and the Tar Heels.
So North Carolina is one of these teams that when they're being hunted, they're not very good when they're a favorite, but when they're the hunter, they're the underdog. They play at a different level. I can't explain it, but Irish are going to be down a couple starters on the offensive line at center and right guard, and they need to control the ball and keep the North Carolina offense off the field. So that could hurt them a little bit here. And maybe by not playing Trevor Lawrence, it might hurt them also. Sam Howell, 2022 draft, he might be the first pick in the draft. I think he's right up there with Trevor Lawrence. He's that good. And he might even actually have better weapons than Clemson has at wide receiver. So I think North Carolina is going to pull off the upset here. It's going to be a barn burner, a lot of high scoring. I have North Carolina winning 45-42, wrong team's favorite.
Okay.
All right, Texas and Iowa State lead. Texas is a 2-point favorite in this game.
So I think that Texas has improved during the year, but Iowa State a different level after last week. Brock Purdy had not played a complete game until last week, throwing mainly to tight ends. Finally, I think has developed the chemistry and also it trusts his wide receivers. So that helps out. Weather could be a factor, so you might see more of Hall running the football. And Texas really has established no running attack all year. So I think Iowa State's going to get it done. They're going to make it to the Big 12 championship game. I think they pull off the small upset here, 34-28.
Lee, Baylor's only won one game, but they are at home for the first time in a while on Saturday, taking on K-State, who got drilled by Iowa State last weekend. Bears 5-point favorites.
Yeah, since Kansas State beat Kansas 55-10, they've scored 10, 18, and 0 points. I think there's some internal issues going on with this team right now. Some guys are leaving the program. Not a good sign. And also Wildcats playing their second straight road game. They seem to play much better at home. So I'm going to say Baylor, they finally snapped that 5-game losing streak here and beat somebody else in the Big 12 besides Kansas. I think the running game also might have some success. I like Baylor here, 24-17.
All right, Steelers and Ravens, that game was going to be tomorrow night. It's been pushed back to Sunday. Does that affect anything at all in how you look at it?
Well, I'm hearing that Harbaugh wanted the game moved back, but, now he might end up having more COVID cases. So everyone's talking about J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram, the two running backs being out, but that's not the problem. Gus Edwards and Justice Hill are fine. Those two guys, power runner, change of pace guy. The biggest loss is nose tackle Brandon Williams. When he missed parts of the games the last 2 weeks, they have not been the same. You can drive a Mack truck through that defensive line. And then also the DBs can't cover anyone or make tackles in space. And just Lamar Jackson has no trust in his wide receivers. They're getting absolutely no, just not getting any separation. And they're 29th in drop percentage. I think Baltimore's done. Give me Pittsburgh, 30-17.
All right, Lee, the Cowboys and the Washington football team. The Cowboys.
I almost had to interrupt you. I was nervous you were going to say the wrong name.
No, I know. The Cowboys a 2-point favorite, and they actually looked like they cared about playing football the last couple of weeks.
I mean, it's crazy what was going on. I think they played I mean, I don't know what was going on. Andy Dalton, he might be the first guy ever, and they might end up making a documentary, but he looked awful before he ended up going out with a concussion. Then he gets COVID and comes back. He probably looked the best he's looked in 5 or 6 years. So they're starting to put it together. Problem here is I just think that Washington right now has too many threats for them also on the outside, and then their special teams might be better also. Give me Washington. I think they win this game here 30-20.
I've always loved this segment. Also, Coastal Carolina has been kind of one of the fun feel-good. Craig, I'm sorry. I thought
go right
I
ahead.
lost it.
You
no,
know
go
you've
ahead.
already started. Go right ahead.
And Texas State, their quarterback had a huge game in their win against Arkansas State last week.
Yeah, it should be a fun game here. It's Texas State's last game, my alma mater, and Coastal Carolina, looking for greatness, still undefeated. So you want to get the game, just call 800-400-9741. Give the game for free. First 10 callers, 800-400-9741. And a lot going on here. Paramount Sports basketball started today. Last year we started on a 30-8 run. So you want to be a part of it, check out Paramount Sports. And also the Turkey Shootout. 15 games from tomorrow through Sunday night. Just $97. It's all available online. ParamountSports.com.
Lee, happy Thanksgiving to you. Thank you for jumping on with us a day early,
guys.
or 2 days early. At least Sterling, ParamountSports.com with us every Friday, but this week because of Thanksgiving break today. When we come back, Texas A&M ranked number 5 in the college football playoff poll. Cowboys at 5 with John Machota. We'll have Olin Buchanan from TexAgs.com. Was that about where you guys thought you would see them? You feel like maybe someone would sneak ahead of them? Was there a chance that even when they beat Florida, they'd be behind Florida? Your thoughts about the college football playoff?
I thought that A&M would have 2 losses right now because I thought it'd be Alabama and Florida.
I'm talking about the poll that came out, the standings that came out yesterday.
Yeah,
where
absolutely.
they were at 5, Craig?
Yeah, that's what I thought they'd be.
No, I mean, it's about where they are in the top 25. So I think the early playoff rankings pretty much mirror that. And, the only time that there's any real disagreement is if there's not a blue blood. I don't consider A&M a blue blood from the typical measurements that you would do that. Money-wise, they're a blue blood, but not like the actual on-the-field accolades. But they do have a bit more respect than, smaller schools, like the ones jockeying right now inside the top 10. So I expected them to be in front of those schools like Cincinnati and so forth, and they are. And, they've got it right in front of them. They've got to hope for a little bit of luck along the way, and they've obviously got to close out and win the rest of their games, but they're in a really good spot.
No question about it. I thought that Cincinnati was getting a little extra love, that most of those non-Power 5 teams very rarely get that kind of. You think it's Luke Pickle? You think it's who they are?
Pickle.
What did I say? Pickle? Oh, that's right. He's a Pickle. He hosts the show with Drake on the postgame show. You feel like it's the respect to the coach, or is it who they've beaten and how they're played? Why Cincinnati? Why of all the teams that have been pretty good, non-Power 5, why are they the one that seems to be, okay, they're a little bit different?
It's a couple years building now, though. I mean, they played well last year. So they're not – a lot of times teams in the non-Power 5 don't get that respect because they're upstarts. So like the year Central Florida – shot up. They were considered an upstart. But Cincinnati was good last year. They're good again. Everybody knows that Luke Fickell's going to get a Big Ten job or a bigger job here soon. So I think that's why. I think that's Cincinnati. That's why Cincinnati's there.
Yeah, I think Fickell's well respected. I think everybody's kind of, hovering around him, knowing that he'll probably be the head coach at Michigan or somewhere like that here pretty soon. So I think from the media standpoint, they're kind of, preparing for –
should that come into play when it comes to the college football playoffs?
But I just think that it does, though. I do think biases come into play, and I think that if it were a different coach with another program who's done the same things, he might not be viewed the same way as Luke Fickell doing it at Cincinnati. I just think there's a difference when it comes to the people involved or the schools that are involved. And with Cincinnati, I mean, up until last week, they haven't had a close game. So they've taken care of every opponent in front of them. They got a bit of a scare with UCF. They're going to play Tulsa in a couple weeks, but they were supposed to play Temple this weekend, and that got canceled. So that's actually bad for them because they probably need as many data points as possible being a smaller school. So, they've only got Tulsa left on their schedule at this point. I don't know if that'll be enough to just have them hang around for the next month, only play one game, and then expect to still get the benefit of the doubt. So it'll be tough.
A question for you, okay? So they're obviously pretty good, and a lot of teams wouldn't want to play them, but they've played Appalachian State, Army, USC, South Florida, SMU, Memphis, the same teams that a lot of other teams in that conference have had runs with, whether it's Memphis or Houston or UCF. Did UCF ever get this high in the college football playoff?
I think they did, but it was not until the end when it was
you see what I'm saying?
But yeah, not early on.
The same resume that some of these other teams have had. And yet Cincinnati is being viewed differently.
But this is also...
And I'm okay with that.
This is also a new year, and there's different people in the group that do these and rotate in. So maybe there's different voices in the room that can convince the people of the merits of Cincinnati. By the way, if Luke Fickell does get the job at Michigan, he's an Ohio State grad. Can you imagine them in the room saying we know he's the best coach, but he went to
Yeah, no, I just throw them out there because they're the ones that are most obvious to have probably a coaching change after the end of this season. But, you look around, Indiana's in the top 12. Mm-hmm. So, this is not a normal year.
No, you're a great point on that.
Northwestern's number 8. So you look at the top 25. You got Northwestern at 8, Cincy at 7, Indiana at 12. BYU's a good program. They're all the way up at 14, which is probably not that out of the box. But Coastal Carolina, there's a handful of teams that are typically maybe in the poll for a week or two, or are in or out of it, but this year, because of everybody else, most teams in the country have a couple losses at this point.
Yeah, there's been a few of the Blue Bloods that have no chance, and they've been some teams that you thought would be a top 5 or 10 are not quite that impressive. When we come back, Olin Buchanan, Texas A&M, covers the Aggies of the Texags. This is SicEm365 Radio. PettyClinicLowT.com. I spoke with Dr. Petty for a little bit on the phone earlier today. He called me about a couple of things that they have going that they'll be releasing very soon. New information about not just your performance when it comes to testosterone level, checking for PSA for prostate cancer, your cholesterol, but more high maintenance of how you can become the high performance man you want to be. He's done a great job with his business when he opened up just a few years back and what they do every day. What they do every day is set you up if you're interested, if you've been sluggish, your sex drive's not the same, if there's something missing and you're getting older. And sometimes it could be a lot of things combined, whether it's your diet or exercise or sleep. But your testosterone level does sometimes decrease. In fact, 1 out of every 3 men struggle with symptomatic things that happen when your testosterone drops, your levels. He'll help you get discounted lab work. Tell him Smokey sent you. It's PettyClinicLowT.com on the website. Get in touch with him. Have an appointment after he gets your testosterone levels. Look at what the levels might be. And if they're too low, he will put you in a program to help you increase your testosterone levels so you can become the high-performance man you want to be. Period. Simple as that. Why would you not want to try that? Find out what your testosterone levels are and go from there. It's PettyClinicLowT.com. Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to Sic'Em365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Welcome back to Sic'em365 Radio.
Olin, they've got LSU. How drastically different is this game than you thought it was going to be at the beginning of the year when they released the schedule?
Oh, what is the word from the Bible? As far as the East is from the West. I knew LSU wasn't gonna be near the team it was last year. We all knew that because of all the. That was a magical season and all the guys that had left, but it's still LSU and they still recruit well. So there's no way I could have foreseen that they would struggle as much as they have. I think this shows how good their coordinators were with Joe Brady and Dave Aranda to see how much they've struggled. I mean, what really shocks you is how that LSU has talent, but to see the way they've been giving up big plays on pass defense, and their defense just is a shell of what it usually is. I never would have seen that coming.
Olin, do you think the couple of weeks away, was that in any way beneficial for A&M? Were there injuries they needed to heal up, or do you think it came at the wrong time, although there's not much to do about it?
I don't ever think you want to quit playing when you're surging. Yeah. My analogy is, when I'm at the blackjack table, if I'm on a run, I'm not going to get up and go to the bathroom. I'm going to keep playing. So,
what a great analogy. Yeah. What a great analogy.
But that said, you have to look for the bright side, right? And Isaiah Spiller did have a sore ankle. He had to leave the South Carolina game in the first minute of the second half. And Jared Hawker, their starting right guard, he got hurt in that game. So you had 2 weeks to get those guys back and 100%. And talking to Jimbo Fisher, he said that despite the COVID, it really wasn't an issue for the offensive and defensive line, so they were able to go one-on-one all last week and get better there. So he says he's confident that they're going to be able to, pick up where they left off. So if they're able to do that, and you get Isaiah Spiller and Hawker completely healthy, then it'll be a blessing in disguise. But we'll have to wait and see how that plays out, of course.
So A&M is big Auburn fans this week, and then they hate them for the rest of the year, right?
No, actually, I don't think they're rooting for Auburn this week.
Okay.
I think the best thing who they're rooting for is they're rooting for North Carolina and Mac Brown against Notre Dame. I think the feeling is that you want Alabama to go ahead and win out, and that includes beating Florida in the SEC championship game. And then you hope somebody like Alabama or Clemson trips up. I'm sorry, Notre Dame or Clemson trips up before they have that rematch in the ACC championship game, or you hope Notre Dame wins that rematch. But it'd be much easier if North Carolina was able to pull off that upset, which I don't think is out of the realm of possibility. Fact of the matter is A&M's got to win the rest of their games, and then they've got to hope they get some help.
Olin, A&M's the top of the conference as far as total defense goes. They're second in rushing defense. What do you see from LSU offensively? It's certainly not Joe Burrow and company. It's not that offense, but what do you see? What do the Aggies have to watch out for? Who do they have to watch out for?
Terrace Marshall, their wide receiver, he's amazing. I think he's a first-round pick. And it's amazing that, he was their number 3 receiver last year. Gosh, he's got like 9 touchdown catches this year. And that's, the last couple of games having to go with a true freshman quarterback throwing to him. So I think he's the first guy you start with. They've got good running backs. They haven't shown to be the at least yet the caliber that LSU usually has when they had Leonard Fournette and then Darius Guice and then Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But you got to respect whoever they put out there because that they wouldn't be at LSU if they weren't good. I think they've had some problems with their offensive line, but it's gotten better with some guys coming back from injury. But still, the bottom line is got a freshman quarterback that's been erratic, but he's got a strong arm. So if you can keep Terrace Marshall from just killing you, they got a good freshman tight end is really good too, Eric Gilbert. But if you can keep Terrace Marshall somewhat under wraps, and you got to like your chances.
What are your thoughts, Nick Saban, yet again, the first time he was able to avoid missing the game against Georgia with just enough money, a Learjet, and some testing, and I'm glad. I hate the fact that he was going to have to miss the game, but this time he's out in their game against Auburn.
Yeah, without a doubt, it's a setback to some degree for Alabama. I mean, you're at your best when you have arguably the best coach that's ever been on a sideline out there. That said, I mean that's his team, and it's an experienced team, and it's I hate to use the word battle tested team. They know what they're doing. I don't know that I would expect that it's going to have a major be a major factor. I mean, I don't think Auburn's going to win the game now because Nick Saban's not going to be out there. Now, if I was betting, would it that 24-point spread? I might be more hesitant to take Alabama and leave the points, right? Mm-hmm. Because Saban's not out there. If anything, that would just make me stay away from the game. But I still think Alabama will win.
Olin Buchanan, TexAgs.com with us. Again, every Wednesday at 4:45. It's interesting, this series. LSU has won 8 of the last 9. Last year, 50-7 on their way to a national championship when they basically just obliterated almost everybody. But it was that game 2 years ago, Olin. I guess you were there. That 7 overtime crazy, huh?
Yeah, I was there. Thought I just said, well, I don't have to worry about deadline tonight.
No. Did everyone start having like blow up mattresses so they could just sit and fall asleep inside the press box after that one?
Well, it didn't get to that degree, but it was crazy. And quite frankly, I was at a point where I didn't care who won. I just wanted to get over with it.
Been there.
Yeah, absolutely been there.
Some of those 8-hour Baylor games when it's
Oh, and this series is kind of weird in that, like, back in the 90s before they didn't play it for almost 30 years, A&M had that run, which essentially ended the rivalry because they won like 5 years in a row, right? And that was when LSU was like, yeah, we're not going to do this anymore.
That's exactly what happened. A&M was dominating the series, so LSU just said, we're going to cancel it. And I think they owed A&M money for breaking the contract, but never paid. And then, things got a little bit testy with the whole John Chavis thing. And when A&M hired him, and they were saying, well, he owes them some money. And then you had the 7 overtime games, and everybody at LSU thinks that the referee screwed them, and everybody at A&M is saying, no, if you break it down, you can see all those calls were right. And then LSU 7, and so you got Aggies saying, put an extra digit on the scoreboard and go for 100 this week. So there's some nastiness developing in that rivalry. I don't think it's ever going to be the same as it was as far as intensity and emotion as it was that A&M had with Texas. But there's a lot of Aggies that would really love to beat LSU really bad. And maybe if they do that, and I don't know if they can, but if they do that, maybe that'll be the thing that'll turn this into a really, not just a big game in your conference, but a really legitimate blood feud moving forward.
Yeah, because LSU at one point won 17 of 20 against A&M when they were playing back in the day. But you're right. They 5 in a row. Was it R.C. Slocum, Paul? 91 through 95. And hey, did you see that?
Hallman was the coach at LSU.
Did you see that documentary? I thought it was on the SEC network last night. I happened to catch a glimpse of it. The 12th Man documentary and the history behind it.
Yeah, I did. And it was funny because I remember a lot of that stuff just reading about it back, David, when you and I were up in East Texas covering sports. I just remember reading about it. So it was really fun to see that and kind of relive those memories.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. If you didn't see it, it's on the SEC network. I didn't get to watch much of it, but I happened to see it and the history behind it. And then when Slocum arrived, they changed it to just having the one player on the kick return instead of all of them. Thanks for your time, Owen. Have a great Thanksgiving.
All right, you too. Thanks for having me.
That's Owen Buchanan with us on Wednesdays at 4:45. Coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, John Machota. He'll join us for theathletic.com and the Cowboys getting back to work today. Washington tomorrow. And then also our high school football pick'em will come up just after that. And in between all of that, at the end, we'll also be able to talk to Football Bob on Kansas State and also Baylor. Sic'em365 Radio. Waco Custom Marketplace has been busting it. I mean, from the time when COVID hit. Remember, they reacted immediately. The Bauer family said, okay, we can't open up our doors, but we still want you to be able to get the product that you love, our delicious product for what you need, whether it's for anything dinner or anything you need for a special event. But they're about to close it down for the next 4 days, starting tomorrow, Thanksgiving Day through Sunday. And they'll be open again on Monday. I went by there today, and there were still a few turkeys left and some spiral hams and pit hams. And along the way, if you want, you can get whatever you want. They had all sorts of different pies, whether it was a pumpkin pie, a pecan pie, cherry pie, and everything pie. And all the other stuff you need, including, yes, box stuffing if you want it, or even some pre-made stuffing as well at Waco Custom Marketplace. What they've been able to do when COVID hit, everything kind of slowed down and shut down a little bit in March. They never blinked. They said, okay, we'll find a way to keep our doors open to you. And they had a makeshift drive-through where you could still order their great product and they could give it to you. You could buy it and go cook it and enjoy it. Waco Custom Marketplace, they're shutting it down Thursday through Sunday to give their entire crew a break, and along with just giving you a chance to also enjoy your holiday if you possibly can. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Dodge Performance from Allen Samuels. Dodge, ranked highest in initial quality according to J.D. Power. Get remarkable Dodge incentives like up to $5,170 in values on new 2020 Charger SXTs, America's most affordable third-row SUV. Dodge Journey has employee pricing for all, and both Charger and Journey have no payments for 90 days. The Black Friday sales event, now at your friend in the car business, Allen Samuels.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Waco's newest gym, Halo Athletic Center, 5725 Bagby Avenue, right behind Region 12 and across the highway from the Central Texas Marketplace, where motivation, inspiration, and hard work are the driving force. State-of-the-art equipment, indoor and outdoor track, locker rooms, showers, yoga and bar classes by Duality Yoga, bod pod potty composition analysis, and registered dietitians, all under one roof, where we rise above. Come join the Halo Athletic Center and be a part of the change, your change.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sic'em365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John Machota of The Athletic, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Bunch formation to the right. Pass is caught by Elliott, and he takes it in for a Dallas score.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now, here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
John Machota, theathletic.com, with us on Wednesdays at 5 on the Cowboys, 503, Sic'em365 Radio. And, John, let's start with Marcus Paul. Any update on him? Obviously, there was a conflicting story yesterday. Thank God everything seemed like it's better. But anything new, or has anyone spoken about him?
Nothing new today. The Cowboys had practice after not having practice yesterday. They canceled practice after the situation happened in the morning when Marcus Paul was taken to the hospital, and so they returned to practice today. But they did not open it to reporters. Mike McCarthy was not made available, and the players weren't made available, and so nothing new from the team there. Jerry Jones did some media rounds this morning, like he generally does every year, the day before Thanksgiving, kind of. Promoting their kickoff to the Red Kettle campaign and that. And he mentioned that, he's still, in the hospital with family and it's very serious condition he's in, and that, hope, they're still hoping everything, can turn out well for him. But it was, they're still very concerned at where he was at, but he had nothing new to report either. So as of right now, I have nothing to add to it other than that I know he's still in the hospital with his family.
All right, John, last week the Cowboys looked different. I mean, it looked like they were kind of invested in it. It's been building the last couple of weeks against Philly and Pittsburgh, where they've played better, but they actually followed through and won the game. What do you think was the biggest difference for them mentally now that they seem to be, kind of checked in?
For me, it's kind of the stuff that when we watch football, I'm not saying everybody feels this way, but I think a lot of people, like myself included, kind of feel like it's almost the boring things, and it's doing the fundamental things. Like the basis of good football is really like good, solid, fundamentally strong defense, and being able to run the football. And I know that's really boring in today's like Patrick Mahomes world, in college football world, where, you want to see everybody score 40, 50 points. But like, those are the two areas where they've improved these last 3 weeks. I mean, they've literally ran the ball better each of the last 3 games. And it's going to be interesting to see if that carries over tomorrow, because, you just go back to last month when they played Washington, and Washington held them to only 83 yards on the ground with that just loaded defensive front that Washington has. That's one of those things you'll know right away is, hey, did they just take advantage of some bad teams running the football against them, or is this something that will carry over against a good front? And they just seem like they've been building motivation from week to week to where you're just going to see a different Cowboys team, at least you should, than you saw against Washington, last month, when I feel was their most embarrassing game of the season. So I think it's going to be an entertaining game. I think it's going to be very close, but I think the Cowboys have to have the edge just because of how they've played and how they've been building up really since that Washington loss.
John, what have you thought about the spark that Donovan Wilson has provided, and have there been any other guys that have kind of emerged over the last couple of games that you've taken note of?
Just sticking on the defense, obviously Donovan Wilson, because, I mean, this team, more than any other team in the league, they need guys that can force turnovers. So it's one of those things with Donovan Wilson where I always kind of wondered, is he not playing more because there's mistakes in practice that, and I'm not just talking this year, I'm talking last year too, after we saw him have such a strong preseason 2 years ago. I was wondering if it was just he was making so many mistakes that they were worried that, hey, he might make a play here or there, but if he gives up this mistake, it's going to totally negate that big play he made there, because it's going to be 7 for the other team. But I think he's eliminated those, and now you just see, I mean, anytime he's around the ball, it's very clear he's trying to knock the ball out. And obviously that sounds like it's, an easy thing to do, but it's obviously not when you watch these Cowboys. And so to have a guy like that, it gives you a guy in the back end that's a playmaker, and this team has needed one so badly. So, yeah, he's one that has stood out to me. I would say Leighton Vander Esch. Each game he's kind of been back since that collarbone injury. I thought he's gotten better and better, and he's kind of jumped out to me, especially in the middle of that defense. He had a really nice hit on Dalvin Cook at the goal line last week. Cook scored on the next play, but, Leighton Vander Esch just really, him and Antoine Woods up the middle, really physical, setting the tone there. The other one I would have to say is just DeMarcus Lawrence. He was dealing with a knee issue for most of the earlier part of the season, and it just seems like that knee has gotten healthier. He has said as much to us about it, that he's playing some of his better ball because he's feeling healthier, and he just seems to be in a groove right now where you're seeing the DeMarcus Lawrence that obviously the Cowboys were paying when they made him the highest paid player in franchise history. And so those guys right there are kind of the key. I just worry about that back end of the defense altogether. When you don't have Trayvon Diggs, Anthony Brown's dealing with he's dealing with a rib issue right now that he suffered in the game. And so he's questionable, even though he was able to be limited today in practice. You're real thin at DB. And we saw against Minnesota that, you're putting Rashard Robinson out there for an extended period of time. Some bad things could happen, especially with a guy like Terry McLaurin. So it'll be interesting to see how that back end holds up, because right now that would be my biggest area of concern. I think their front seven is continues to play better each week.
I would say that with Vander Esch, if there was any concerns about him having any, and I think early on when he came back, he took a hit and there was a little bit concerned, but that collision with Dalvin Cook at the goal line, if he can survive that, you would think that everything is pretty good. And you're right, it just seemed like, man, it's been tough for people to run the football on them. And who would ever thought that was the case when they – do you feel like they just got rid of some fat literally with Don Terry Poe? I didn't mean that in a negative way. Well, maybe I did. Not so much because of his weight, just because it just wasn't working out, and they've gotten tougher.
I think there's that. I think there's also a factor in that the guys that are replacing some of those guys they let go, and not just Poe. I mean, Everson Griffin, they trade him, and then Darryl Worley, they let him go. I think it's opened the door for some other guys. They're just maybe more hungry. Neville Gallimore's played more. Antoine Woods has played more. Donovan Wilson has played more. And these guys seem to be making the most of their opportunity. And so if this team is to go on, now they do have the most favorable schedule from now until the end of the season. And if they win tomorrow, obviously they'll be in the driver's seat in the division. Like, if they go on to win this division and host a playoff game, even if it is an ugly, 6-10 finish or whatever, you'll have to point back to that, the couple of days when they traded Everson Griffin and they got rid of Poe and Worley as kind of being a turning point. It just seems like even if you don't want to look at the schematics and break it down by each player, it just seems like as a whole, the defense is more bought in on what they're doing. And there's obviously been some tweaks from Mike Nolan, but I think the biggest thing is you just see the effort there. It just seems like that whole group is bought in, and that, yeah, they're not the most talented group, but if they're just playing hard, they can at least be solid. We've seen that over previous years. I mean, the 2014 defense wasn't anything special, but everybody bought in and kind of did their role, and that, it was enough to, take care of games when you did have that really loaded offense. And so, they got their offense seems to be turning a corner too. So if the defense can just continue to have that buy-in, we're not sitting here saying, hey, if they do this, they can beat the Saints and Seahawks and, Kansas City and Pittsburgh and stuff like that. But, they should be able to beat the New York Giants and the Washington football team and the Philadelphia Eagles and the Bengals without Joe Burrow and maybe even the 49ers with how beat up they are, and that's most of the games that they have remaining.
John, did anybody ask Mike McCarthy, since he made such a turnaround on Zach Martin, what fantasy football nonsense specifically is?
He was asked about it by Brad Sham on the pregame show, and then he was asked about it again after the game, and then again on Monday. And it was all about he was bringing it back to the combination, and it's all about how those five fit together. And for me personally, I don't buy into that, because how the five fit together do not matter when every single one of those equations up until Sunday involved Terrence Steele. So it's like, you can't tell me that, Connor McGovern, he's just been kind of coming along and now he's finally hit his stride. So now we're going with him and we feel comfortable. Like, when did you feel comfortable with Terrence Steele? I mean, he started the first 9 games of the season. I don't think there's any one of those 9 games where you're like, I think you should feel good about the right tackle. So, and he's an undrafted guy playing in his rookie year. At least Connor McGovern had that redshirt year of last year. So I don't know. I'm just somebody that I believe from the minute they knew that they weren't going to have Tyron Smith and Lyle Collins this year, that's immediately when Zach Martin should have went out to right tackle. It's taken them a while to figure that out. They've gone to it. And you know what? For their sake, even though it's been an historically bad division, they got it right now, and they got it right in the time when they still could win the division.
Isn't that crazy? Just 1 week or so later, then they would not have any chance, and they win tomorrow. They're right. They're in it now, even if they lose tomorrow. But obviously, they can't afford too many more of those. I haven't been able to watch Washington much, honestly, and that's I like them. That's my lifelong team, but. But are they still playing very good defense? I know they beat Cincinnati, but that's Cincinnati. Are they still playing pretty well on defense?
I'm not. I don't think there's much on the back end. There's not a lot there where you'd be like. I look at them and I'm like, if there's some way that the Cowboys can control their front and just minimize the damage, because there's going to be damage when you go against. I mean, that might be the best front in all of football, not just like the NFC East or even the NFC. I mean, they're loaded up there. That's what happens when you're bad year after year and you get all those picks and you're putting them into one area of the ball. You saw it with the Cowboys with their offensive line. They basically, what the Cowboys built with their offensive line, that's what Washington's done with their front. So I think Andy Dalton still, even on a good game, is going to get at least 2 or 3 sacks. But can you eliminate those and give him enough time to get it to the weapons? If you give him enough time, that's the one part of this team that stayed relatively healthy. You still have Zeke, Tony Pollard, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup. Dalton Schultz has been one of the biggest surprises this year with just how solid he's been. All your weapons are there. It's just about keeping Andy Dalton clean. That's easier said than done against this defense. But if they can keep him clean here and there, and really the key to last game, I felt like was just the way Kellen Moore called that game on just the balance. I think he had one more pass attempt and run attempt. If they can keep that balance against Washington, I don't think that they'll have a problem scoring, 17, maybe 21 points against them, which I think should be enough.
Thank you, John. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Enjoy the covering the game tomorrow, and appreciate your time. John Machota with us every Wednesday at 5 o'clock from theathletic.com. When we come back, we'll have our high school football pick'em a little bit later on. Football Bob will break down Baylor and also their game on Saturday with Kansas State. Running the football against Washington, the Cowboys had 83 yards. Against Philadelphia, they had 133, 144 against Pittsburgh, and 180. So every game it's gone up from that first one dramatically. And whoever runs the ball tomorrow pretty well probably wins the game because, again, both teams are not by any means flawless. This is SicEm365 Radio. The Black Friday pricing continues throughout the month of November, not just for the weekend that was Black Friday, but not just because it's the holiday weekend, throughout the month of November at Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Special incentives and financing Still available, 0%, no payments for 90 days on almost everything they have at the dealership. Right now, the beautiful Ram Lone Star Crew Cabs feature employee pricing for all, 0% for 84 months or up to $4,750 in values. Allen Samuels, your Central Texas Ram headquarters, an amazing selection of Ram trucks, and also the relationship with other dealerships throughout the country help them always have what you need when it comes to a Ram truck. Also, employee pricing for all in the new Jeeps, including the Gladiator Sport Overland Gray. In fact, the Grand Cherokee Limited has 0% for 84 months, no payments for 90 days. The Jeep Compass and the Renegade both feature employee pricing for 0% or 0% for 72 months or no payments for 90 days. Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340, east of 84 in Waco.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas, familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi, great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco, house-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine, best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. This high school football segment is sponsored by Southwest Sports Medicine. We'll get you back in the game.
All right, here we go. Week number 14 of the high school football season. Week number 3 of the playoffs and the 5As and 6As, of course, with 2 weekends left in the regular season. And there are some fantastic games. Maybe the deepest, best list of games. That doesn't mean we'll have many different picks, but there are a bunch, including 4 or 5 rematches. Let's start with 6A. In 11-6A, DeSoto and Duncanville. Paul.
I'm going to say Duncanville.
Craig.
Duncanville.
Me too. This one here is intriguing. Bridgeland is 9-0. And Katy, I think, is, I don't know if they're with one loss, but they're unbelievable. We know that. This is actually a non-district game that was put together, 2 elite teams in 6A. You have nothing to do with the playoffs. Craig Smoke.
It's Cy-Fair, right?
What did I say?
You said Katy.
I'm sorry. Cy-Fair.
Bridgeland and Cy-Fair.
We saw a little bit too much of them when they beat the hell out of Midway 2 years ago.
I don't know why, but I'm going Bridgeland.
Well, you know what? They're unbeaten, and they're kind of probably a slightly favorite. One of the things here is that neither one of them has to win this game. There's some pride here. But who's going to rest some people? I'm going to take Cy-Fair just because I saw them. I know it's a different team, but I'll take Cy-Fair.
Yeah, I'll take Cy-Fair too.
Okay. Argyle and La Vega, and I'm going to do with what the trend has said. Argyle wins non-district even though they smoked La Vega early. I just have a feeling about this La Vega team when it gets to this time of the year. Argyle's so explosive, but I'm going to take the Pirates.
La Vega didn't have their quarterback when they played him the first time, and that's a pretty big deal. It's not like it's Derek King to Kyle Trask at Manville, at a big school like that. So I'm going to go with La Vega.
I'm going to go Argyle.
Craig Smoke with Argyle. All right, this is the team that's kind of become one of the Cinderella teams in high school football. They upset unbeaten Lampasas. Corpus Christi Miller, body the quarterback. How about this, boys? They're averaging 57.6 points per game, and they've lost 4 games. They lost one game 77 to 76. They're crazy good on offense.
Baylor in 2012.
Yes. I'm going to go with Cinderella. Paul, I know this is your pick, but I'll tell you right now, I'm taking Miller. Bernie against the Greyhounds, who have 9-2 record.
I'll take Bernie.
All right.
I'll take Miller.
All right, Craig, this is your game. Salado and Carthage, the 800-pound gorilla
Carthage.
in Region 3, and I'll take Carthage as well. Paul?
Yeah, I'd love to pick Salado, but I mean, it's Carthage.
China Spring and Sealy. I was wrong against Jasper. I was wrong against West Orange Stark, and I don't want to be wrong, and I'll take China Spring, although Sealy 9-2. I'm going to take the Cougars. Paul?
I'll take China Spring. They're hot. I'll ride the hot hand.
Well, I'm either going to be tied for the lead after this week or be 20 games back, but who cares? I'm going Sealy.
Well, you could split those games too.
Yeah.
Grandview and Malakoff. We featured that with Ryan Ebner, the head coach. Grandview's had the upper hand. They've won back-to-back state titles, won in overtime this year. Paul?
I'll take Grandview.
Craig?
I'm going to go Grandview.
So will I. All right, this one here, Lorena and Hallettsville. Hallettsville's got the burner. Lorena, of course, with Ray Biles and company. Craig.
This is the hardest game for me to pick, the one I was just the most unsure about. But, yeah, I'm going to go, man, I don't know. I keep going back and forth on this game. I don't know anything about Hallettsville.
They've got the kid who's a burner. He's going to Texas. He does, punt returns, kick returns. I'm not trying to compare him to the kid from Cuero 2 years ago by any means, but he's pretty good. They beat Diboll 27-0. They've played a fairly decent schedule.
I mean, I'll go Hallettsville.
I'm going to take Hallettsville as well.
All right.
I hope Ray Biles and them prove me wrong.
Just talking to Ray Biles this week, sometimes you talk to a coach and you can kind of hear it in their voice that they're confident. He feels really confident. I'm going to ride with Ray. I'm going to go Lorena.
All right, they got to have Porter, the freshman. They need to get him loose a couple of times in the passing game, and he's going to probably be matched up with the young man from Hallettsville. Franklin and Lexington. Franklin won the first match, beat the hell out of Lexington. But here they go again. They're going to play again. This is my turn. I'll take Franklin.
Franklin.
Okay. This is the one that's dicey. Rogers and Buffalo. Buffalo won the first meeting 46-28. I believe Rogers turned it over 5 times and Buffalo turned it over 3 times. To me, this is all about who gets an early lead because of the pace and tempo of the game.
My turn?
Yes.
Rogers.
Craig?
I'm going to go Buffalo.
And I'll take Rogers. So we do have some changes this week. And Buffalo's the favorite. Lindsay and Bosqueville. Bosqueville's playing really, really well. Lindsay's very good. I really wanted initially to take Clint Zander and Bosqueville. They're playing great, but I'm gonna take the 10-1 Lindsays.
I'm going with Lindsay.
I'll take Lindsay.
Okay. All right, Paul, this is you. Crawford and 7-4 Alvord, or 7-4, 8-4 Alvord.
I'll take Crawford.
All right.
Crawford.
Craig, Normandy and Beckville. Beckville's gotten hot after a couple of losses early, and Normandy's undefeated.
I'm going Normandy.
I will go Normandy. Shiner and the Punchers of Mason. Asked Brian Etheridge about this game. He goes, I got to go with Mason just because of Punchers. and I'm going to take Shiner. They're so loaded. In fact, Shiner, I think, may have played one of the teams we mentioned earlier, a 2A team that beat a good 3A. I'm going to take Shiner.
Going Shiner.
Yeah, I'll take Shiner. How'd you know I was going to pick Shiner, Smokey?
I just started writing it down because it's a beer.
I mean, I guess. But, yeah, I mean, no, they're really good.
West Sabine.
They're one of the teams that beat Hallettsville, by the way, Shiner.
That's the one. Yeah. That's West Sabine and Mart.
Yeah.
Whoa. No way I'm picking West Sabine. I don't think I've ever picked against Mart. We've done 100 Mart pick'ems. I've never picked against Mart. I'm picking Mart.
Yeah, maybe about 300 Mart pick'ems. And I think there's been a couple. They had the Franklin game last year when Franklin beat them up pretty good. Tenaha and Chilton. Coach James, who has still never gotten back with me, but his assistant coach actually sent me Player of the Week stuff a couple of weeks ago. Tenaha has gotten hot. Chilton has gotten hot. I'm still going to go with the Tigers of Tenaha.
Yep, me too.
All right. Paul, Blum and Union Hill. Blum, of course, a great history. Union Hill just smoked Abbott, 76-42.
Well, I'm going to go with Union Hill.
All right.
Union Hill.
U of H, okay. Calvert and Richland Springs. Craig smoked. Calvert's 9-2. Richland Springs 10-0.
Richland Springs.
I am going to change this one. I'm going to go with Calvert, who lost to them by 5 last year. I just have a feeling, and just another one of those reasons I let you guys stay close.
Is that Calvert? Are they the Fighting Antiquers? Is that what they are?
No. Isn't there a chocolate
yeah,
place there?
That's what you
featured
do.
on the Food Network?
I'm going to go with Richland Springs.
I'm the only one that went against the history of Richland Springs, which is a dynamic football team. Riker and Temple Central Texas Christian School. We have the game on 106.7 FM. So 11:30 pregame, right, Paul?
Yep.
12 o'clock kick, and we'll also have it here on Sic'em365 Radio. I believe this is, Paul, your turn.
CTT's really a big up front, and that's going to pose some problems for Riker. I'm feeling the homer pick today.
What is your religion?
I'm Catholic, so I've got to. I mean, look, I don't want to get struck by lightning or.
So if Notre Dame was playing Bama.
I'm not gonna. But it's just if it's a religion versus religion, I got to go with my religion, right?
Okay, so you're going to take who? Riker?
I'll take Riker.
Craig?
I am not Catholic, and I will take Central Texas Christian School.
I'm going to take Central Texas Christian School. It's 6-7-1, whatever the record is. We saw Riker. They're fantastic, but they just played.
They played air almost.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to. I mean, we were so thankful to be a part of that broadcast, and I don't want to take away from their win in any way. But I mean, if you guys could have seen it, it very well could have been 150-0. Legitimately could have been 150-0, if not for running clocks and things of that nature. So, yeah, I got to go with Central Texas Christian
I think
School.
the difference could be Jake Boozer's back. He didn't play last week, didn't need him, and maybe that gives Riker an opportunity to throw it around. And Eli Cummings against Ryan Turley, the two running backs that are both dynamic against each other. Here's another rematch, Live Oak and Vanguard. I'll take Live Oak. They won the first game pretty handily. Paul?
Live Oak.
I will go with Live Oak.
Okay, there we are.
Although I do live by Vanguard, so I hope that they don't get
Craig,
mad.
we have a bunch of different picks. 5-game lead could either be increased. Grayson's hanging around. He's just 6-back. Yeah, Paul, you're 10-back. You're not bad. You've been farther back before.
La Vega and Argyle, we win.
La Vega, Sealy, China Spring.
Oh, yeah.
Buffalo Rogers.
I worry that Deontay, he's had
Richmond
a couple.
Springs, Calvert.
Deontay's had a couple. Put those stats back up there. The standings back up there, Jack. I'm worried Deontay. He's had two different COVID scares, which turned out to be nothing. It's really hurting his overall performance.
When you say it's turned out to be, the scare, because he had to be quarantined.
At least, you know what, though? Like, of all the games, like, we've seen people who have gone, like, 500 through this many games.
Oh, yeah, we have.
The fact that he's still pretty, I mean, he's, what do you know what the math?
It's about 70%, right?
Yeah, 70 games over 500. I mean, it's actually not bad. I mean, compared to what we've seen before from some.
Yeah, he's
his first year playing, and
absolutely.
I think it's not.
You know,
not a big
Brian
deal.
Etheridge he kind of had some people pass him by. He's trying to make a move to get back up the standings. Dylan's been focused on baseball at MCC, so he's been distracted.
I just randomly know Dylan's still alive because I'll see like the picks come in, and that's about it. But other than that, I haven't seen him in forever.
Yeah, he's coaching. He's coaching now. So
he is.
So that's his life.
So there's rematches everywhere, and Argyle La Vega, Grandview Malakoff, Franklin and Lexington, Rogers and Buffalo, Vanguard and Live Oak. All of these are rematches from games earlier this year. I had a note about the game with China Spring and Sealy. Sealy lost to Bay City. They're 5-5 in overtime. That made me nervous. They lost to Navasota. That's okay. Sealy's strength of schedule is 49-63. And China Spring, of course, they've played a really good schedule. They've beaten Jasper and West Orange Stark. That helped it out at 66-49. And I have no idea, but that's where we are. You got to know?
Just an update. Marcus Paul has passed away.
Oh, my God.
At the age of 54. Very young.
Yeah, that's sad. Holiday time, too. I mean, that's never easy, even if it was the middle of July. So his poor family having to deal with that. A lot of poor families out there around the country over the last few months. But I know it's about to get really hard for people with the holidays coming up. Not every family unit's really solid and intact. And, man, if you're one of those people that's, maybe going to be a little lonely around the holidays, just reach out to somebody if you can, or you never know. You do, and there might be somebody in your same position. But I definitely worry about people just dealing with emotions and things like that as we hit the holidays. And now, the Cowboys are getting hit hard with that. So, just very unfortunate and far, far too young for anybody to be passing away.
He was with the Giants for over a decade, 54 years old. Cause of death pending, but they did release a statement. And then that's why when you wonder, had he had something, but that's why it was so serious. Even though there were some that jumped to conclusions about his passing. In fact, some reported that, and I don't know whether or not
that
he
like
did.
24 hours ago.
Yeah, or if it was life support, whatever it might have been. But my God, that's a horrible story for Mark. You know what? Tomorrow's game, the Cowboys and Redskins, Washington football team, obviously very somber. Ought to give Cowboys, not because he passed away, but they're. Jeez, man, you feel for the whole
I'm sure they'll do like a moment of silence or something like that. I mean, there's
and then go play there with their hair on fire. Yeah. All right, coming up next, Football Bob will help break down Baylor as they play Kansas State. This is Sic'em365 Radio.
All right, it's Thanksgiving tomorrow. If you've got to get out tonight and get some spirits, some maybe some craft beer, maybe some wine for dinner tomorrow. Well, Riverbend Liquor and Wine is where you need to go. And look, make your plans for Christmas now. They've got a special coming up with the Waco Whiskey Club and Balcones, where they've got their own special barrel of whiskey, 5 years aged single malt. It's called the Christmas Special. They'll have that around Christmas time here in the coming weeks. So go ahead and make your inquiries about that now. Reserve a bottle. It's their own case. It's their own barrel. You can only get it at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. And look, they get the new releases first off the line anyway, but this is their very own line that's going to be able to sell. So that's really exciting for Riverbend Liquor and Wine. So single malt, 5 years old, aged in that barrel. They went and picked it out late last week, and apparently it's going to be fantastic. I have no doubt that it will be, and the only place you can get it for the holidays is at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. But they've got the drive-through window, so if you need to go by and get something tonight, you can do that. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street here in Waco. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Welcome back to Sic'em365 Radio. Are you a Sic'em365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at SicEm365.com.
All right, here we go, this 5 o'clock hour. Football Bob, he is, I'm telling you right now, when we first had him on earlier this year, there was so much excitement, and then to turn it into a weekly segment because Gary, football. Bob allows us to have him on every Wednesday at this time. Thanks for joining us. Happy Thanksgiving to you, sir. And did you play today? Did you hit the ball around a little bit?
I did. I had a good day. It was fun.
Good for you. I'm glad you did. All right, Gary, so let's look at this game. Kansas State, Baylor. What did you see between Texas Tech, the running game, over 200 yards rushing, and is that something you think Baylor can carry over against what has been a pretty stingy defense, although an inexperienced defense in certain places this week?
Well, I think that if Kansas State doesn't have their linebackers this week like they didn't have them last week, that Baylor can expect a lot of success in running the football. I think that Kansas State got really shown up to be missing those two linebackers in that situation. But if those two guys are in there now, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. I still think that the progress of the offensive line, hope it continues. And if it has, then I still think that Baylor can run the football effectively, especially if Lovett, Ebner, and Quaylon Jones are all available.
Whose offensive situation would you rather be in right now? Kansas State's trying to play a freshman quarterback, or Baylor trying to find their sea legs in a new system in this weird year?
Well, I would choose Baylor's, no doubt. I mean, Kansas State has a good quarterback, but he's a freshman, and so it's tough, and you have to limit things, and you don't really know what he's seeing sometimes to try and make good decisions. And one of the key things at having a good quarterback is he a good decision maker? And freshmen are notoriously, they have a difficult time at making decisions.
Bob, outside of Deuce Vaughn, what do you see from the K-State offense? And what are your opinions on Deuce Vaughn? He seems to be their standout, their playmaker, although he didn't get to do much in Ames last weekend.
He didn't, but I still think he's a terrific player. He's dangerous, and one of the big things that Kansas State has been able to do is they've been able to break for big plays. And so that's really going to be a big deal on Saturday. It was whether or not Kansas State can gash Baylor for big plays, plus 20 plays or even bigger, like they have when they've won games. They've done that.
Bob, they have Quaylon Jones had 21 carries against Texas Tech, and obviously Tay McWilliams was a part of it as well. But they appear to have Ebner and Lovett back this week. How would you handle that yourself?
Well, I'd put the best players out there. And if I felt like that the seniors were going to be the best players, I would play them. And that doesn't mean you wouldn't put the younger kids out there a lot, but I would play the best players. On the other hand, if I feel like that Quaylon Jones, based upon the way he carried the football last week, was my best player, I wouldn't hesitate to put him out there and give him 21 more carries this week.
Bob, how many options are opened up as a result of Tyquan Thornton and Ben Sims being back? I mean, along with the boost you get at running back, Dabney's looked good at tight end, but now having the combo of he and Sims, and then Thornton, obviously the deep threat. I mean, does that create some new things potentially for Larry Fedora in this offense?
Well, I think it does. If the running game stays as productive as it was last week, if the running game stays that productive, then guys like Tyquan Thornton, they're just going to go vertical and they're going to be open. They're going to go on short crossing routes, digs, and they're going to be open because the linebackers are going to have to stay up in there and they're going to have to work on stopping the run.
Now, the fact that Kansas State has struggled, do you feel like most of their problems is just the inexperience? Of course, they had the linebackers out as well. They look so good. Beat Oklahoma State, right, earlier this year. Of course, that seemed like forever ago. With Baylor, you were a high school coach for a long time, and you had players who were recruited. Some of them, I would think, back when you were coaching, there wasn't as many decommitments, but there were some. What was the reason most of the time? As you know, Baylor's had a handful of those. What was most of the time the reason a player decommitted when you were coaching?
Well, I hate to say it, but some of it is negative recruiting. I mean, some of the staffs are, negative recruiters, and that kind of thing is successful, especially if the family is not very knowledgeable about really what is involved in collegiate athletics. You know, most of these kids grow up in families that aren't very familiar with how college athletic goes, except to watch it on TV. And so some of those families can be easily swayed with negative recruiting. And then peer pressure is a big deal. And it's something you really have to work at counteracting. If he's got a bunch of buddies that they say, why would you want to go to such and such? Then that young man starts to think, why am I wanting to go to such and such school? And so, you know, you have issues with that too.
Are you glad that you don't have to do that and deal with that in this era of social media where you could have a new rumor or negative recruiting story every hour?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can't even imagine having to deal with moms, dads, the player, over each tweet, each thing that shows up on social media, to be able to say, hey, you know, talk to the coaches and see what's going on there. Ask questions, but don't just go off and think that everything you read on the internet is true, because that's just hard. I mean, for the high school coach, and I can't even imagine being, you know, the college recruiter and having to deal with that on an ongoing basis.
What would, other than the obvious, and what it would mean on the left side of the win-loss column, Baylor 1-5, and they have 3 left, and Oklahoma's game with West Virginia's been postponed. We're not sure about next week in Norman. What would, as a coach, even if you have a team that's struggling, things that don't feel good, look good, what does a win mean to a program, even if they're not playing well?
Well, you know, 1 win can turn into 2 wins and can turn into 3 wins. What you tell the kids is win this play, you know, and if you win this play, then win the next play, and then win this game. And if we win this game, then we'll worry about winning the next game. To end up, let's just say that, you know, miracle happened and Baylor could end up winning out. You know, that would just totally change the feeling of the team. That would totally change the recruiting situation. It would be a shot in the arm that can't be measured. Even if, you know, let's just say 2 and 3, you know, 2 wins, 3, that would still be great. Every win is a factor on your side. Every win is a factor for recruiting. Every win is a factor for your off-season program, for your spring training. All those wins just build the program up higher exponentially.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, football, Bob. Thanks, Gary. Appreciate your time as always. Hit them straight. Appreciate the invitations earlier this week. Just could not make that happen. That's football, Bob, former coach, and also helps us with the X's and O's in a way that he looks at it. And his what he does is after a game, he goes into like every detail of a game. I mean, from the coin toss to everything on. And it gives you an overview from a football coach's perspective. By the way, yet another quote from Jerry Jones in the passing of Marcus Paul. A loved and valued member of our family, a pleasant, calming influence. His passion for work and enthusiasm for life earned him great respect and admiration from all. Our hearts are broken. Marcus Paul, at the age of 54, strength and conditioning coach with the Cowboys, passed away.
Just took over as the coach for Mike Wojcik.
One of the most famous and successful strength and conditioning coaches in NFL history was the Patriots, was with the Cowboys back in the day, and now had gotten back with Dallas again. So, boy, that was a tough guy to ever get close to, Mike Wojcik.
Do you remember
he was intimidating?
What was the camp we were at? And we called them the Mike Wojcik 3 that couldn't start camp because they were there. They failed their physical that day in Oxnard.
Yeah.
And they just the only thing they had you get to Cowboys camp and it was always kind of funny. So you get there and you can go set up on a day, and then there's really nothing until the press conference, but they have a day where you can do your show, and the only thing they're doing is workouts. And the only thing that any of the media saw that one day where we're doing their show before the thing was these three guys getting their asses run into the ground by Mike Wojcik so they could pass the physical. And Marcus Paul's was all part of that.
What was it? Poole 1 year didn't pass it, the former defensive back?
Brodney Poole, and then they cut him.
Brodney?
Yeah, Brodney Poole.
Brodney Poole, yeah. I remember last year walking in, because I got there, remember you were there, and then I got out there a little bit later, and I remember walking in, and it was a day when they were off, and they had all the gates locked. But one gate was open that led you into where their locker room was. They made it into basically a field house, a locker room. And I turned left, and I got caught in the wrong area. I was where I was not supposed to be, and I knew it. And I had my credential. And the only one that saw me about as far away as Tyler and Jack are right now, who've done a great job today, thank you guys, was Mike Wojcik just stared at me. I was like, I'm in the wrong place. Just turned around and walked away. Scared the hell out of me. I mean, he's kind of someone that could hurt you. All right, we another break here?
No.
Okay, good.
About 5 more minutes so we can wrap it up.
He's a intimidating. He won all those Super Bowls. I don't know if he won all of them with the Patriots. He was a part of a lot of them. And then, of course, with the Cowboys and Jimmy, I think back in the day as well. So that was interesting as well. I hate that. That's horrible news. It ought to be a very emotional day tomorrow at AT&T Stadium. And this is the first time for you that you have not been at a Cowboys game. I went to the one with RG3.
Yeah.
He lit up the Cowboys in that game when Jerry said, we're going to have to deal with this for the next 10 years. And it was like he was gone by the next year, basically.
Yeah. Orlando Scandrick didn't want to talk about that game this week on the podcast.
He didn't?
No. I mean, I mentioned it to him before I started. I said, I remember that RG3 game. That game. He's like, that game, you look at it and it looks worse than it was. The Cowboys were in the game until real RG3 kind of came out like late. I mean, that's what he says. We were in the game, but I was like, RG3 that was something. Jerry Jones' press conference after that one, he was sweating bullets about it.
He thought he was going to have to deal with that
like
for
Donovan
a decade.
McNabb.
Remember that, Craig? And RG3 looked as legitimate that he would be around for 10 years, and he never did.
The great Tony Wiley. Yeah. We had to sneak us through this hallway, and we had to talk. We got our one-on-one with RG3.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, that
was his last great moment, right?
Actually, that's also the hardest I've ever seen you laugh at me.
No, he had more the rest of the year.
It's the hardest I've ever seen you laugh at me because Kenny Chesney, who I have a blood feud against, was doing the halftime show, and I didn't realize it. And I was sitting there tweeting and RG3's doing this. I'm tweeting. I look over and Smokey's got this grin on his face. And then you hear the Cowboys announce, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Salvation Army, Kenny Chesney. And then I in the press box,
mood change.
I was I got up and I tried to find a spot in the press box that you could not really hear him. And so I sat there because it's longer. The halftime is only 12 minutes normally, but that halftime at Thanksgiving is 20 minutes. So I sat in that corner hiding for about 12 minutes until Kenny Chesney shut his yapper.
Yeah, he's not everybody's tune, I guess. I don't mind him that much, but you clearly do not like Kenny Chesney.
It's a blood feud.
Sure, yeah.
Blood feud.
A blood feud means that you've done this with him?
No. That's blood brothers.
Okay, all right. I was just curious.
We're warring.
I thought maybe he backed away from you. He didn't accept your blood.
You ever seen a mafia movie?
Yeah.
If I had my guys in the room, I'd be I don't like.
Who's the one that ends up in the car strapped to the seat in the pond? You or him?
That's how it's going to wind up. No, that sounds bad. That sounds bad.
That's evidence.
That's evidence.
You just gave yourself up before the crime.
I'm a huge fan of country music, and I feel like he and his ilk have ruined it. So he was at the beginning of this, just no effort, country music.
I've never been considered a country music fan. There's some of the music I enjoy, but I've never.
No, he's influenced it in a negative way as far as it just sounds like pop music. That's all it is. They're ripping off rock and roll and even hip hop to a large extent now, and they've basically taken hip hop and rock and infused it into country music. And really, the only thing that's country about it most of the time is just the actual singers themselves,
or the subject matter,
tailgate, football game Friday night,
out
love,
my barn in the bed of my truck,
bed of the pickup truck, all that stuff. Same thing across the board. But yeah, I mean, other than the lyrics and the twang of the voice, there's really nothing all that country about it. For a large portion of the most popular country acts right now.
Yeah, it ain't Jolene. I'll tell you that.
Big
No,
12,
but there's still plenty. There's,
Yeah.
Casey Musgraves is good. And
Chris
and there's-
Stapleton.
Stapleton. There's plenty of others.
Is Carrie Underwood country?
Yeah.
Okay.
How do y'all
but
feel
she's a
about
little
Florida
pop-
Little
Georgia line?
popping or two?
Huh?
How do y'all feel about Florida Georgia line?
I feel like they should all get on the same tragic.
What?
They're awful.
You're going to drown Kenny Chesney, and
Yeah.
you want them to get on a roller
Look, hey,
coaster that
look.
breaks up.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not. You know who the maddest I am about, and I'll leave it at this. We can talk about Thanksgiving. Is Lady Antebellum or now Lady A, because they pretended like they didn't know what their name meant when all this the Black Lives Matter stuff came up, and they realized that Antebellum had something to do with the Civil War.
Yeah,
so
it just suddenly dawned on them that their name they've been rocking the entire time.
Your thing is you're either a kind of racist.
And people said, "Oh, that's so sweet."
Yeah, you're either kind of racist or really stupid, and that's neither one of those you want to be.
Well, we're going to get into a fight at the end of the show because I'm about to mention Taylor Swift. It's kind of like her
Well, I'm living on this one.
Living in Tennessee her entire life, and then just suddenly this year having an issue with the Nathan Bedford Forrest statue.
Yeah.
And really having a big issue with that,
Yeah.
despite the fact she's lived there for 20 plus years. But yes, go ahead.
Yeah, she's really good about acting if she didn't know. Oh, I didn't know.
It was in her city.
All right, so Friday,
there.
make predictions here. We'll be back on the air Friday. Nothing tomorrow. We'll have a lot of the things we have all the time, but we'll be back on Friday at 3. Iowa State at Texas. I have to do this because proven otherwise, somehow UT wins the game.
Cyclones
peaked against Kansas State. Can they do that?
Cyclones are going to do it.
I'm going with Iowa State.
Okay.
I mean, it wouldn't shock me to see Texas win just because fluky things like that can happen. And a Friday game, that's just weird on the road.
Early game, too, isn't it?
So, it wouldn't shock me at all if Texas won that game. But I definitely think Iowa State is the better team, and they should win this game.
All right, well, we lost the second best game in the conference, or might have been the best game. Oklahoma at West Virginia. TCU at Kansas. I hate for both teams. Not many people care except them. Same thing, really, in Wade. Kansas State at Baylor. On Saturday at 6 o'clock. We'll have a pregame show at 4 on Saturday afternoon. Also, don't forget high school football at 12, 11:30 pregame Riker in Temple Central Texas Christian School. Jeremy Callahan and also Tyler Holcomb, the two coaches of that game. Texas Tech at Oklahoma State. Any letdown from Oklahoma State after the loss is getting a hickey put on them by Oklahoma?
I just don't think Texas Tech is good enough. Yeah. I mean, Oklahoma State is not I don't know if they were ever really a contender for this conference or if they were just good at the beginning of the season.
If there's a letdown after getting gobsmacked like they did, then they're not nearly the football team that people thought they were. I mean, that should be motivation, if anything. So I'd expect them to win. I don't think Texas Tech is good at all. I just think they are so average, and still can't believe Baylor lost that game. That's the one of all of them. I'm just there's no excuse. There's no excuse for losing that football game. None. And they did. So that's why they are where they are.
See it, you could see it happening,
right
before your eyes.
You had multiple opportunities to just get one score that would have put it out of reach, and instead you do everything that you're not supposed to do, which has been the story of this team all year long. So I don't really have anything great to say about Texas Tech, so I'll go against them in that game.
We'll discuss Baylor, Kansas State on Saturday afternoon. Big 12, 2 basketball games are final. Men's basketball, Drake beat Kansas State 80-70. And then Oklahoma State, 75, UT Arlington, 68. UT Arlington can play pretty good basketball. Baylor women tonight against Central Arkansas, 7 o'clock at the Farrell Center. And they're going to have these T-shirts for Dee Dee Richards as she continues her comeback, which has been spectacular. Tyler Bolden, man, we'll see you Saturday, right? Jack, your headset's on. How have you been, buddy? I mean, there's been a couple of – that's part of the deal. You slipped in mud, but I think you've been fantastic. I was scared to death, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Paul and I were wondering about it. We should maybe pre-tape the show with Armstrong a couple of days ago. No, really, fantastic job. I mean it very seriously. How you enjoy it?
It's been more nerve-wracking than enjoyable, but we're going to keep getting better, and hopefully Armstrong can take more days off in the future.
Here's the thing. Even though he did make a mistake, you're not officially, earlier in the show, you're not officially a real producer until you've wrecked something and fixed it.
No, yeah, you're right. It's like getting on a bike the first time.
Until you've wrecked something. Hey, you're looking at a guy, how much stuff have I wrecked? A lot of stuff. I've wrecked a lot of stuff, and I fix it all.
I don't mind wreck or wreckage, and if it was preventable is when I mind it. And what you did was,
it's prevent. Like,
we'll do it better next time.
I have been preaching this for 11 years.
He had it though. He didn't. He just
a checklist. Okay,
he
Craig.
has one.
Look, Paul does it over here. Craig does it over
I'm
here.
just trying to
for
let
Tyler
you know,
Bolden,
man.
thanks to Jack as well. Appreciate Craig Smoke, Paul Catalina. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I'm David Smoke. SicEm365 Radio. Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
A group of over 30 physicians in Central Texas became frustrated seeing patients fail at losing weight themselves. They opened Muscle Wise Nutrition. We've seen too many patients suffer from complications of obesity. Patients who have tried countless do-it-yourself diets, which often results in 25% of the weight they lose coming from muscle breakdown and muscle loss. We needed another approach, so we opened Muscle Wise Nutrition. This is a coach-managed diet program to lose substantial weight, targeting fat while sparing muscle. Dieters are seen weekly by a coach who performs detailed body composition analysis. Please email us at Sic'em365 at MuscleWiseNutrition.com, and one of our coaches will contact you promptly to get you set up for our free educational seminars. Lose weight by losing fat and sparing muscle. Start MuscleWise today. Contact us at Sic'em365 at MuscleWiseNutrition.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game. Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395
$25 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.